What up, what up, what up? Oh, dang, we didn't get an introduction. It's all good, man. Welcome to MSC Hoops, man. I will be the host today. Michael is out sick. Hope that he can definitely get better. But I am the one and only Nick Andre. Glad to have you guys tuning me into my right of me. I got my guy CJ, man. What's going on with you, bro?
What's good, bro? Yeah, I got Michael's not here. Kind of feeling a little under the weather. Couldn't make it for this episode, so got the laptop this week.
That's what's up. Yeah. No more doing it over the what were we using? Like an iPad last week or something?
yeah, I was switching between an iPad and a phone. It
That's
was
what's
all
up.
laggy and choppy, so uh, back on a laptop now, so make things a lot more smoother. But
Is this a new one for you or are you just borrowing one?
yeah, I'm borrowing one right now. Yeah,
Okay. No, that's what's up. That's what's up.
good. Definitely an upgrade from what I had.
I'm sure it's a lot easier to use too. I ain't gonna lie.
Man, definitely. I mean, because with the links that we pull up and everything, it was tough not be able to do that last week. But
Yeah.
back in the swing of things. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And there's a lot. It was one hell of a week to say the least in the NBA. We're gonna dive all into it. But first and foremost, man, let's go ahead and pay some bills, man. SeatGeek, use code MNC Hoops to get $20 off of your first purchase. But that's a disclaimer. So let me tell y'all the story. I sent it to CJ and Michael yesterday. So I was getting ready to buy some tickets to a basketball game, to a college game in the next month. And I just bought one ticket. It's like $20 something, or I don't think, maybe like $25, $30, something like that. So I was like, I haven't used my code yet, so why not use my MSC code, man? Let's see if I can get us some money. So I put in the code, and then it says I have to spend over $50 in order to use the code. So that's just a disclaimer. That's something that we definitely gonna have to add, man. When I saw that, I was like, man, I was expected to save some money, but hey, at the end of the day, it is what it is. So definitely appreciate all the people who help us out and support us, man. Definitely use code MSC Hoops on your first purchase. You can get $20 off of any order that's $50 and up. Let's put a disclaimer on that for sure. But
facts.
you want to go ahead and get into some of these topics, man? We got a spicy one, man.
Yeah, to start the show, obviously the big news that happened throughout the week last week. Draymond Green suspended for 5 games. It's just a big time loss for the Golden State Warriors. And yeah, so I got into an altercation. Well, first it started with McDaniels and Klay Thompson. They were kind of, getting into it a little bit in terms of boxing out, getting in position for a rebound, then, grabbing of the jerseys where it happened. And then Gobert came in. I felt like he tried to break it up. And then Draymond came in and he felt like Gobert tried to, get physical with Klay. And then he, obviously everybody knows the infamous meme now with the choke, putting him in the chokehold. And like not even just the chokehold, like dragging him a couple feet, which is kind of crazy. Draymond gets ejected. Klay and McDaniels get ejected because of that. Warriors end up losing that game. And they've lost, I think, the last 4. So
Lost 6 in a row now overall. Our last 4 home games, we lost 2.
Last 4 home games. That's right. They lost the last 4 home games at Chase Center. And the result of this, obviously, we knew a suspension was inevitable for Draymond. Some people questioned it could have been. Some people had it 10 games just because of his past and what he's done in the past and all the antics that he's done. Some people felt like it should have been 3 games. It was a mixed reaction after everything that occurred. But ultimately, the NBA, Joe Dumars, they came to Adam Silver. They came to be, understanding that 5 games was suffice. And what's your thoughts on this, being a Warrior fan and everything that's going on with Golden State right now?
So it's funny. I didn't even watch this game live. I was watching. What was I watching? I know I watched Chet versus Wemby the first game. Who was the second game? I can't remember exactly. But yeah. So I didn't watch it live, but I just know it blew up all over social media. Obviously, you touched on it. It started out with Klay and Jaden McDaniels. They were guarding each other, and I believe Klay grabbed Jaden's jersey first, and then that's how the whole scuffle had happened. So it's weird because a few days after the incident, I saw like so many different angles of it. Obviously there was one where, Rudy Gobert was coming to, I guess he was trying to, like pull both Klay and Jaden McDaniels like apart from each other. And then that's where Draymond stepped in because everybody believed that Rudy was going after Klay. And then there's another angle where Draymond just basically goes straight for Gobert and then obviously puts him in the chokehold. Now, and obviously the memes are funny because everybody, even I'll be right, even I made a joke about, Draymond's getting Rudy Gobert back because of what happened with the whole COVID situation. But if you're Draymond Green, man, in all seriousness, like, you got to understand that you have a reputation of this, dating back to 2016 with the kick to Steven Adams. And then even in the finals, when he got into the scuffle with LeBron on the floor, and then he ended up getting suspended for Game 5, which, a lot of people could say ultimately changed the outcome of the series because the Warriors ended up going 3-1 after that. And then there's obviously other situations as well, even besides that. So, with Draymond Green and with him having a reputation of, getting into scuffles and having moments like this, it's like you said, it was inevitable that he was going to get suspended. Now, I'll be honest, I saw a lot of people saying, like, he should get suspended for 10 games, 20 games. I'll be honest, man, in Adam Silver's NBA, I knew that he wasn't going to get that many games. I personally said 3, and I think 5 is fair. Now, I'll be honest. If it was David Stern's NBA, then it'll probably be in the 20s, maybe the 30s or so. Who knows? But in Adam Silver's NBA, and I know that a lot of people, they were upset with Steve Kerr as well because Steve Kerr basically sounded like he was defending Draymond in the post-game presser. But overall, man, I know that, it's funny and it's all the memes and everything, but I just think that overall, man, like, it's kind of uncalled for, especially for Draymond. It's like, I get it, like, like, it may have been his intention to remove, like, or try to pull Gobert off, if he believed that he was going after Clay. But, having him in, like, the chokehold and then just, pulling him back. I'll be real, like, it looked like Gobert was, like, losing breath at one moment. Like, that's how crazy it was. I was looking at it, I was like, oh, snap. Like this man could literally, like, pass out. But, 5 games, whether people love it or hate it, I think either way, like, no matter how many games it is, it was just, kind of a crucial thing for Golden State, just because even though we just got Steph back, we had just lost Steph, to injury. And on top of that, we're struggling. Like, we lost 6 in a row, and then we lost 4 straight home games, 2 to Minnesota, and then 2 to OKC, even with last night with that overtime, which, by the way, I ain't gonna lie, that shot by Chet Holmgren was insane to send it to overtime. But overall, it's just a bad situation overall. The Warriors, they started off hot. They were like 5-1, 6-1. And now they're in this drought now, and, who knows what's going to happen after that.
Yeah, this is a massive loss for the Golden State Warriors. Draymond was in the altercation last year that resulted into him missing some time. I
didn't even bring that up. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just, this is just what he does, right? This is just who he is at this point. We've watched him over the last, 12 years or so. Everything, whether it's playoffs, regular season games. I'm honestly shocked it was only 5. I just felt like based on, because Joe Dumars did come out and say they factored everything into, like, his past and previous altercations and situations that occurred. They factored that into the suspension. So if that was the case, you could argue it could have been a little bit more. Just on based off what he did, choking the guy, putting the guy in a chokehold and, dragging him a couple feet. That's just not a good look for the league. It's just not. It's funny to us, because, the memes and things like that,
exactly,
and everything that comes from it. But from, NBA standpoint, from a professional standpoint, it's definitely not a good look. So, he just has to be more mature. Honestly, there were so many other ways he could have went about that and still show that you're there for your teammate. Could have been a shove, anything. But based on past comments, he doesn't like Rudy Gobert. He obviously doesn't think he deserves all those Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's talked about Rudy Gobert a lot and how much he's not a fan of him. So I think he saw that opportunity. He's touching my guy Clay. Let me go try to handle that. And I think his emotions got the best of him and ultimately paid for it. And I think for this Warrior team, they need him more than ever. It's not like this is not the 2017, 2018 Warriors where you had KD, Clay, and Steph, and you can maybe miss Draymond for a couple games and they can still get you some dubs. It is also not the same Western Conference from 2017 and 2018. Conference is much more parity in the West right now. Even young teams are hungry. They see the Warriors. They look at them as, food because they've been at the top for so long, and they know a dub on that team, is a big deal based on the success that they've had over the last 8 years. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. The fortunate part is Steph did come back yesterday, went down to the wire, but ultimately they were unable to get the dub, losing to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We could talk about that in just a little bit, but I just think it was just an unfortunate situation, man, for Draymond. Like, you just have to be better. You just have to be better. Like, they took a chance on you, and they kind of took your side in that Jordan Poole situation. They traded Jordan Poole, and now here we are to start the season where everybody has a fresh slate. Chris Paul's there, all different types of narratives, and here we go again. So hopefully he's learned from this. I think the referees are tired of him, and he has to be easy. You got to be easy. So it's just 5 games right now. You don't want other things to occur throughout the season. Players are going to try you. They're going to try to test you. They're going to try to get you upset so you can get a technical, so you can get ejected. So he definitely has to be able to control his emotions throughout the season.
I want to ask you this because I've seen a lot of people talk about it. I think I saw guys like Kendrick Perkins and people on NBA Today talk about it. So for the rest of the Minnesota, or at least the rest of the guys that are on the floor, how do you think their reaction should have been whenever Draymond had Gobert in the chokehold and was pulling him back?
Yeah, like Cat and Ant, I feel like they could have did a better job of pushing Draymond off of him, because he's literally having him in a chokehold.
Exactly.
It's just like that's your guy. You have the same jersey on, you have the same uniform on. The goal is to win, but they probably also looked at it as, we know Draymond's getting ejected. I'm better than Draymond. If me or so for Ant perspective, if me or Cat get ejected, we could lose this game. So you don't want to escalate it and take it to a point where everybody gets ejected from the game, and now the likelihood of you winning the game is low. And now they're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, and that W that they got in Golden State was a big reason for that. So I see both sides, but I think more importantly, they did the right thing. They did the professional thing, which was not take it to another level. Like, yeah, it is bad optics. I heard what Pat Bev said, but Pat Bev is a role player, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he did something like that. Like, they don't really need him to win the game. Like, he's not a first, second, or third option on a franchise team. So if he was to do something like that and make a move on and defend Gobert from Draymond, cool. But a top player, you got to think about the game, which is ultimately matters the most, and that's what they did. So I see both sides, but like I said, I think Cat and Ant, they ultimately made the right decision.
I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. Especially from the perspective that you put it, they both are star players, so their presence, is definitely more crucial than the other guys on the team. So I can definitely understand it from that aspect. But I can understand where other people are coming from as well, especially if you're just watching your guy, watching your teammate, get pulled like that. A lot of you expect somebody, just to be able to step in, and do something about it. But hey, man, at the end of the day, luckily Gobert didn't get injured, or luckily the situation didn't go as bad as it could have been.
Right, it could have went much worse. Like, say if Draymond would have let go and he would have fell on his head on the court or something, like, you know what I mean? Anything
exactly
could have had something happen to his neck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, something happened. Exactly.
Draymond's lucky, man. He's lucky he only got 5 games. Seriously, like you said earlier at the top of the segment, David Stern, that's probably 15.
Easily.
That's probably 15.
That's one thing too, because I think about when Denver and New York had a little scuffle. That was like 06, 07, something like that. Yep. Melo had got 15 plus games or something like that. And it's like,
punches were thrown in that one though.
Yeah, that's true. That is true about that as well. But Adam Silver has shown, at least throughout his time being commissioner, he's a little more lenient, and he tries to side with the players a lot more than what David Stern was. David was kind of like, hey, you're in my league. This is what's going to go down. And, you got Adam Silver, who is a little more on the player side of things. So I want to say that probably does play a factor in why Draymond didn't get as many games as he could have gotten.
Yeah, he's much more player friendly. You also got to think about it from David Stern's perspective. When he took over the league, it was a lot of it was a lot of drugs and
That's true.
A lot of things being involved. It wasn't as clean cut and professional as we see it today. David Stern was the reason why the league looks the way it looks right now from a global perspective. So I would understand. Obviously the dress code. Guys had to dress a certain way coming to the game. You couldn't just wake up and go to the game, and like pajamas or sweats or whatever. You had to present yourself like a professional. And
nowadays, even coaches don't even wear suits no more.
Yeah, after the COVID situation, they kind of became a little bit more lenient with that in terms of code. Now they have the fleece with the team on the logo on the side.
Yeah,
which is cool. I'm not like. I don't really care too much about it, but I am so used to seeing the coaches with the suits on, for all these years. But since it's been 3 years now since they've done that, so I'm kind of used to the new dress code with that. But I agree. Adam Silver is obviously more player friendly, but it's a give and take with that. You don't want to be a pushover either. You don't want to just feel like because players can take advantage of that. I won't get that many games, Adam Silver. You know what I mean? He'll just give me a couple games and that's it. You don't want to have that reputation all the way. You still want to stand down. I think he did that with Ja. He gave Ja a chance. Then Ja came out and, messed up again. And then he gave him the 25 games. So, it's obviously the Donald Sterling situation. That was a no-brainer, though. You couldn't miss with that. That was a layup, as he became the commissioner
That's true.
Of the NBA. So, he's had his moments where he's had, been, more disciplined in other situations. But I just think it's important for him to, this next time, if anything else occurs, whether it's Draymond or anyone else, really make a stand and understand this is not acceptable in our league.
I agree. I definitely agree. The Warriors as a friend. I mean, obviously, this Draymond thing definitely does put a toll on them. I know that it's only 5 games, but when you look at the situation, especially, with them on his losing streak, they can't really afford to lose anybody. So, now they lose Draymond for the next few games. I know that Steph is back, but, Draymond is a crucial role in his team. And I've even complained, too, because now that Draymond is gone, that means that Steve Kerr now puts Chris Paul in the backcourt next to Steph Curry. And I already have my feelings about that. Even though Chris Paul's played great for the Warriors, especially in that second unit, playing next to guys like Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Dario Saric, and so many others, him and Steph in the backcourt, at least defensively, is not something that I like. And I think we saw that even last night against OKC. SGA dropped 40. You know what I'm saying? J-Dub had a good game. Lou Dort had a good game. So in the backcourt of these defensively, that's where my concern is. But then it's different, when you're able to have a guy like a Draymond Green in there where Chris Paul can come off the bench. And I think that definitely elevates their defense, as a whole. So the Warriors are just in a weird situation right now. I know that we touched on it a little bit last night where, what's next for this organization. I know that they want to keep the main core guys together, Steph, Draymond, and Klay Thompson. And, everybody wants them to retire as a Golden State Warrior, especially Steph Curry. In my opinion, I don't think Steph ever goes anywhere. I think Steph is going to stay in Golden State and play his whole career there. Same thing like with Kobe or Tim Duncan or Dirk or whoever. But I don't know, man. It's if they want to continue to be true contenders in the West, because I'm looking at the West as a whole. Obviously, Denver's in that conversation. With them being the defending champs, they have the best player in the NBA. I know that Bradley Beal still has yet to play a game, but I've been watching Phoenix a lot recently, man, and I love because my concern with Phoenix was, obviously they have 3 great scorers, but I wanted to know what the rest of the supporting cast was going to do. And I'm going to say I've been really impressed, obviously, with Eric Gordon. I've been impressed with Nurkic. I love what he brings defensively. And I love, what he does offensively as far as screening, and being in his position. I know people love and hate him, but Grayson Allen's actually played pretty well for them. And the same thing with, what's his name? Utah Watanabe as well. It's actually one of my personal favorites on the team. Yeah. Then on top of that, you got some of the younger guys. We just talked about OKC. They're, in my opinion, they're right there as far as being a playoff contender. and I think they showed it in the past few games that they played against Golden State. So the West is only getting tougher. And I mean, and you touched on it earlier. Like, this isn't 2017. This isn't 2018 anymore. The Western Conference is only getting tougher. So I don't know what can be next for Golden State. I don't want to say that you need to break up this core three, but I must say, like, I think it may be time to make some drastic changes if they want to remain contenders in the Western Conference, because the conference is only getting stronger. And on top of that, Steph Curry has shown us that he's still playing at a very, very high level. I mean, he had a great first few weeks of the season before he got hurt. So, obviously the Warriors will always be in that conversation just because they have a guy of Steph Curry's caliber. But there are some questions to me as far as what can this team look like moving forward.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I just think you guys are, you don't have the size
at all. That's been my complaints the past few years.
Yeah, exactly. When you look at the Lakers, you look at the Timberwolves, which I think is a team that is sleeping up. People are sleeping on, but they're here now. Like I said, they're here. They're the number one team in the Western Conference as it stands today. The Lakers, those are teams that have a lot of size and tall wings that could do a multitude of things. And then of course, Gobert, Cat, Jokic, AD. The Warriors don't have anybody that could guard those guys. Draymond's a great defender, but he doesn't have the height to guard those guys. He's going to get in foul trouble. What happens when he gets in foul trouble in those games? Then what? Now the team looks completely different. And Kevon Looney is cool, but he's not that rim protector. He's more of a hustle guy.
And our backup big is Dario Saric, and
yeah, exactly. That that's food for Jokic, and it should be food for AD. Sometimes, but
sometimes.
But and then you got Sabonis, and he's not an easy cover either in Sacramento.
Yeah, he's been cooking.
Yeah, he's been playing well, and that's the big thing for me there. And then just look at Klay Thompson right now. He's not playing well, and you look at dynasties throughout the years. The Spurs, we thought Tony, Manu, and Tim Duncan to be there for the majority of career. Two of them were, and then we saw Tony Parker go to the Hornets. We were like, that was weird. That was a weird time, right?
Well, I guess in his defense, that was because I want to say Duncan had retired 2-3 years before that. So,
maybe a year, maybe I think.
Because I know in 2017 they played Houston, and obviously that was the same year where Kawhi went down against Golden State, and I know that both Manu and Tony Parker were part of that team.
Yes,
so, yeah, it might have been a year or two after.
Yeah, but it was a year or two after Tim. Then that's when they got LA. Yeah, and they tried.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But yeah, again, still, they didn't keep that core didn't last. They didn't stay on the same team. Look at the Bulls. Pippen, Rodman. Jordan retired, came back. He didn't come back and go to Chicago. He came back and went to the Wizards. So, we've seen these moments where, these historic teams with, these great players during their dynastic run don't necessarily Shaq and Kobe, Shaq and Powell. Kobe and Powell, they didn't stay together for the majority. They teams broke those, the franchises broke those teams up. So
Brown and D-Wade.
It's not uncommon for that to happen. I think, listen, if there's a trade available that can really help the team, Klay, his contract is up. That could be a possibility where he might get moved. He's not bringing the same type of production from a floor spacing standpoint that we're used to. His shooting splits don't look good. He hasn't played well since the Lakers series. He didn't play. Like I say, he didn't play well in that Lakers series. So
he didn't play well at all. He barely played well in that Sacramento series.
Yeah, I think he had a couple good games in that 7-game series. So and again he came over 2 major injuries back to back. You know what I mean? Achilles, ACL. That's tough. Those are 2 tough. And you're a shooter. You're a guy that's moving around all the time. Those are tough injuries to recover from. So that's playing a factor. So I think, man, there could be a possibility where he might get moved. He might get moved. Now, what does that trade look like? I have no clue. I saw the clip where Kendrick Perkins making weird trade scenarios. I'm just
I heard about that. Yeah, he
yeah,
was
I'm
just
just
trying to say trade Clay to the Knicks, something like that. One of
just
those.
ridiculous takes. I thought Kendrick was doing better, but he's still back to he's still back to his wild takes. Bro, I really thought he was doing better, but I was wrong. So we're just gonna have to see how it plays out because this conference is loaded, man, with a bunch of talent, and outside of Steph, there really isn't anyone to be that confident in. It's not like Draymond is a big piece, but he's not a scorer. He's never been a scorer. He's never been a great shooter. Everybody, whenever you think about Draymond, we always think about that Game 7. That was 7 years ago. That's the only time we think about him playing well offensively. We talk about that in one game, and they lost that game. So it's like that's never been his style. So they need another piece. They definitely need another piece. Who that guy is, we'll see. I mean, Levine, DeRozan.
Ooh, honestly, either one of those would probably
Caruso be good. Obviously Caruso's not that type of piece,
right?
But I think he could help you guys in terms of defense and doing the little things to help on that side of the court. But yeah, if I'm looking at the Bulls, Vucevic might be an option. He's not.
It's tough with the Caruso thing because I feel like him and GP2 are kind of like the same identical player in a way. Almost.
Yeah, they have similar playing styles. I still feel like Caruso's a better player.
Probably overall, especially offensively. Yeah,
he's bigger. Yeah, he's bigger, 6'5". His shooting has been I think he's a better shooter. He's definitely improved in that since his Laker days. So I think he'd be a better fit. And I think GP2 is probably much better for that second unit for what he brings and kind of being that backup shooting guard for Chris Paul. So he could kind of switch on if they want to switch, make things easier there. But yeah, I'm looking at the Bulls. If I'm Mike Dunleavy Jr., former Bull, during his playing days, I don't know if anybody's that he knows still there in the organization or something like that. But I'm making a phone call over there and seeing what could I possibly get because the West is not doing them any favors with how talented it is.
Not at all. I mean, we touched on it. Four straight losses at home is crazy. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and I know that it was two different teams, but obviously, Andrew Wiggins hit that go-ahead three to put us up 117-114. Then, obviously, Chet Holmgren comes back later, hits that follow-away three in the corner, which was a really great shot. But I'm looking at overtime, and I'm watching Klay Thompson just break three after three, and I'm like, my God. And that's the thing, too, because I remember after the Lakers series, I was telling y'all, I was like, man, like, this Warriors, I mean, obviously this is going to be a great team, but it's just not the same. And, it's unfortunate because, it's like you mentioned, Klay went through two major injuries, you know what I'm saying? So that's something that's not on his end, that's something that he couldn't control. Right. But unfortunately, it forced him to lose a step. He's not the efficient shooter that he once was. He's not the great perimeter defender that he once was. So that plays a big difference, man. And, especially when you have so many great wings in the Western Conference, that he's not able to guard. So I'll be real. I like guys like Levine and I like guys like DeRozan. Obviously, those guys, I know that I get on Chicago a lot, but those are still two very talented players. My only concern is, how far is that going to lead us? I mean, obviously Steph is going to be Steph, regardless, but I don't know if either one of those guys is going to be able to help them get over the helm, like, be able to be in that same conversation as Phoenix or Denver. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's going to happen. I know that, Klay's been in talks of like, or there were talks leading into the season about Klay possibly getting contract extension. I'll be honest, I don't even see that happening. I don't know. I mean, we're still in November, so obviously anything can change from now to the end of the season, but I'll be real, man. The Warriors, I think it's just time that the Warriors make some drastic changes. I don't know what it is, but, especially as long as Steph is still playing at the high level that he's playing at, I think that you have to continue to, rejuvenate this roster and possibly find a way to keep them in that conversation.
I agree. Speaking of keeping a team in the conversation, Clippers get their first win with James Harden Now it comes with the caveat, obviously, with the news prior to that win with against the Houston Rockets. Russell Westbrook decided to come off the bench, be the sixth man to kind of help the lineup, help Harden get more acclimated with the Clippers. Nick, just want to get your thoughts on both on that game, and what do you think? You know, we kind of had our opinions on what we thought about the Clippers last week and would it be successful, and then ultimately we got the big news about Russ coming off the bench. So, what's your thoughts on the Clippers now?
They needed that win. They needed it in the worst way. You know, I want to say, what were they, like 1-5 or 0-5 before that win against Houston? Which, by the way, that was a really, really big win. But you know, it's this whole situation is just very, very funny to me because even, and I'll be honest, man, you know, even after the trade went down, I was on record because I'll be real, like I knew that it was going to have to come down to either James Harden or Russell Westbrook as far as coming off the bench because I feel like you can't have those two in the starting position. I know that they played together on two different occasions, obviously in OKC and in Houston, but this is just a different situation. And I'll be honest, I thought if it was going to be between those two guys, I was picking Harden. Only reason why is because Russ has established himself as this team's starting point guard. He was there. He got traded to the team last year, and he had a good last stretch of the season, and even being able to carry the team in the playoffs when Kawhi and Paul George went down. So I felt like like with him being in this situation, I think that he is more deserving. And on top of that, Ty Lue came out and said that he didn't expect Russ to come off the bench. Then this happens. Russ voluntarily says that, hey, I want to come off the bench for the better of the team. And I'll be honest, I applaud him for it. It shows the sacrifice that he's able to make. Obviously, he had to do the same thing when he was with the Lakers because him and LeBron couldn't really gel together in that starting lineup. So it just shows the leadership, the maturity, and everything that Russ has. And I'm happy for it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, now I just want to see, because, I don't know, I mean, the Clippers have just been a weird team. And, I just feel like if they are going to succeed, I don't know, it's like I think James is really going to have to rely more on the playmaking. You know what I'm saying? I know that, there's been these comments about, hey, I am the system or I want to be the system. I don't know what he meant by that. I don't know if he meant I want to be the number one option or that, or that I want to be the primary ball handler. But he just has to realize that, hey, I'm playing next to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, two elite wing players, or actually two-way wings. Obviously Kawhi, with him having the championship, he's the only guy I want to say, or I think there's a few other guys, but as far as the only star on this team to have a championship, I don't think there's no doubt that they got to run offense through him. Now I get it. I know that he has injury history. He hasn't really been that healthy over the past few years, but it's obviously still Kawhi's team, and I think that they have to continue to run offense through him. So that's my thing, is just say, I think that Harden needs to continue to kind of step more into that playmaking role, especially now with Russell Westbrook going to the bench. And I just think that, there has to be sacrifices that have to be made. Obviously offensively, but also defensively as well, because the Clippers really have not been great defensively as a whole. So, this was a big win. I think this was a sigh of relief for them to get that win against Houston. I'm happy that they were able to do it. Now, can that continue as the season progresses? Who knows? If they continue to make sacrifices. And obviously, we always acknowledge Ty Lue is one of the best coaches in basketball. So, if he's able to figure this out and made the Clippers one of the top contenders in the West, I think that'd be really, really impressive. But we'll just have to wait and see, what goes down as the season progresses.
Yeah, this was a good win. This is a good win for them, just to get some type of confidence, some type of hoop, some good film you could look at, back when you get back to practice and back to the facilities the next day. There's still some struggles. It still feels like they play a lot of ISO ball. There's not a lot of off-ball movement with this team. And I think ultimately that's going to be the issue with them. Even when they went up against Denver on Tuesday before this win, it was a close game, went into overtime. And, they've been in all of the games that they've been in outside of that Knick game. It was close. So we know the talent is there. We know it's tough to guard these guys. but ultimately it's been close. But these games have been low scoring too. Like you would think with a team with as special as those four guys offensively, what they've been able to do in this league for over a decade, you would think you'd see a little bit more points per game out of them. And I think that's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. They're only 6 games in.
Right.
For me, it's just how they play. If it's going to be a lot of isolation, taking each guy taking turns, like that's going to work in the regular season because.
But that's my thing. Even in the regular season, like it can't be any of this. Harden got the ball at the top of the key. He's just dribbling in between the legs and all that. Like nah, because I'll be real. Kawhi's not going to take any of that. PG ain't going to like it either.
I think it could work because at least publicly and in front of the on the surface, Kawhi doesn't make it seem like he's that frustrated. There were some reports that came out during the week that he was, but I don't know the validity of that. Obviously, these journalists, they want to make stories.
That's true.
So people can click on their articles, but it's they're going to try to Ty Lue, what he's going to do. I think right now this is the honeymoon phase. Even though they're not winning, it's still the honeymoon phase. And that okay, we're going to do some things that you're comfortable with, so you could get acclimated with the team. But ultimately, we're going to get back to my system because it's still Ty Lue's team. Like he's still coaching his team. He still has a system that he put in place that wasn't necessarily what they were doing prior to James Harden's arrival. So I think it's going to be that tug of war, that give and take, and Harden's going to have to sacrifice. This is what I said last week. I mean, that's in order to win a championship, you have to sacrifice. I mean, you have 4 guys like that have been the guy on franchises for 7+ years in their separate teams and cities individually. They didn't necessarily have to sacrifice that much. Now it's imperative. Like they have no choice. All these guys are on board and bringing Harden in. So you have to do the things necessary to win. We know what Kawhi and Paul George bring defensively. Harden and Westbrook are going to have to do the same thing. Even with Westbrook coming off the bench, he still is going to have to be that spark plug for the second unit. I think it helps them and I think it helps Westbrook because he could play more free. He could play like how he's accustomed to playing in OKC. And you probably have one of those guys in there with the second unit as well, alongside Westbrook. So that kind of looks like a starting 5. Because you have Westbrook, probably Kawhi or PG or Harden, and then whether it's
Terrence Mann,
Powell, whoever
PJ Tucker or whoever.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever they fill in for those next 3 spots, that's a plus as long as they're doing the right things, not turning the ball over. But Harden's gonna have to play off the ball, man. I would like to see him come off some screens. He's gonna have to understand like this place that I'm talking about that he needs to play with. This will keep him in the NBA like longer than what he may seem, because as you get older, he could once he gets to a point where he feels like he's a role player, he could walk. That's possible. We've seen guys do that. But if he wants to play for a long time, he's going to have to be able to play off the basketball. You can't just, this is not your team anymore. You're a player on the team, but it's not your team. So I think over time, I think him coming to the Clippers now, as opposed to at the trade deadline, is much better. So they have more time to figure things out. But as I just said, and as we're going to continue to say throughout the season, with just how competitive the conference is, it's like every game is a playoff game. So you can't really make too many mistakes because you'll end up losing, and they'll end up factoring in on where you're at in the seeding down the road. So it's a tough adjustment, and that's why I'm saying if you play off the ball, it makes things much more easier, spotting up, doing things he's supposed to be doing, and I feel like from there they could be able to win because they have the talent, they have the coach. Now it's just about that aspect, and then also those guys staying healthy. And when I say those guys, obviously I'm talking about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So like I said, this was a good win to get to get in the books for sure. They had a great home record to start the season, and they had like a 3 or 4 game skid. at home, and they got one now. Went down to the wire against a good team. Rockets been playing great. They had won 6 in a row up until that point. So great game, great win. You see Kawhi giving up the ball to Harden, so Harden could take the last shot. Like that's you know what I mean. That's rare. You know, he had a 1-on-1. He really wasn't.
That's crazy.
Double. I mean, Tate came over, it shaded over just a little bit, but it wasn't that much of a double team. You know, giving it up to Harden taking the last shot on the team that was supposed to be built around him. That says a lot about Kawhi too. So
that's true. Yeah.
You know, if their characters are in place and if they really want to buy in and do the right thing, they could be successful. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of time.
I definitely do. So let's speak hypothetical in that, you know, they are able to change their season around. Is this team fit enough to beat teams like Denver and Phoenix? I'm talking about both of those teams being fully healthy. Obviously, Denver having Jamal Murray and the rest of the team, and the rest of the guys. And then I'm talking about with Phoenix hopefully having Bradley Beal, and they're able to figure out how to way to mesh in Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. If they do what we're saying, and how they play, absolutely. Because opposing teams only have one or two elite defenders, perimeter defenders, maybe if that. You know, I look at the Nuggets. KCP is that guy, but he can't guard everybody. He can't guard Kawhi, PG, you know, Harden and Russ together at the same time. He's gonna get tired trying to guard all 4 of those guys are different types of players too. So that's a lot of homework you have to do. You have to be disciplined when you go up against a team like this as well. So yeah, they can be successful. They absolutely can be successful if they all buy in. That's the key. That's the key thing. Like the talent is there, but it has to be more than that. We've seen teams over the course of the league and league history have a bunch of talent and they don't pan out. Harden was just on one of them in Brooklyn, like, just a couple years ago. We saw the talent was there, but they didn't buy in, and they just whatever situations occurred happened.
Right.
So they could be at the top. Playoff time, we saw. I feel like, listen, if Kawhi and PG played against Phoenix, it could have beat Phoenix especially the way the Clippers were playing. They definitely had an opportunity to beat the Suns in the playoffs if Kawhi didn't get hurt. And that's what Russ was playing well, and Paul George wasn't even there. So I mean, it's possible that they can definitely contend. You muted, yeah.
My bad. Like, no, didn't Kawhi have I think he had 38 in that game 1 or something like that?
Yeah, 48. It was 48, I believe.
48?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was 48 in that game. He was going crazy, and then he got the injuries. So I think they brought Harden in just in case for situations like that, right? If he does miss a couple games, if Paul George does miss a few games, you know, the drop off talent wise when they go up against these certain teams throughout the regular season isn't that bad to where they feel like they have an opportunity to win. And again, like ultimately, it's just going to come down to what those 4 guys want to do as a collective. You saw the first step, like I said, I think that was a big step for Russ coming off the bench. That's a big first step. You know, he's a guy with a lot of ego. He has a lot of ego, man. He's won an MVP in this league. He's averaged a triple-double 3 out of 4 seasons. Like, he's done things we've never seen before in this league. So at least in the modern era. So for him to be like, yeah, I'm coming off the bench, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That talks about him being selfless. I just talked about Kawhi giving up the shot to Harden. So, you know, they're committed. They're committed.
Yeah, I think that Houston game was definitely a good representation of, you know, because one of the biggest word for me with the Clippers is sacrifice, and you know I think we're starting to see glimpses of that. You know, obviously with Russ saying, "Hey, I'm going to come off the bench," and then you know, like you mentioned, you know, Kawhi having an opportunity to play 1-on-1, but hey, I'm gonna give it to Harden for a 3-pointer. So I mean, that shows that hey, you know, like they're at least making an effort to try to play together and try to figure this thing out. So that's what I do. Like, you know, there's no egos, at least from the outside looking in with the team right now. So if they can continue to just figure out ways to play together and they can result in some winning, then this team can be dangerous. So I'm hoping that they can turn it around, because I'll be honest, like throughout those first 5 games, I was like, I don't know what's going on. But I think that Houston game was a good sign that, you know, if they do play together and do make those sacrifices, you know, this team can turn things around and obviously be the the contender in the Western Conference that many people expect them to be.
Facts. Speaking of teams that we don't think might be able to turn it around, we got the Chicago Bulls. They've been struggling. All three of us, Michael, Nick, and myself, we all felt like at some point when we did our Chicago Bulls preview before the season started, at some point they were going to have to retool this roster because it just doesn't fit with those three guys. They beat Miami last night, but to start the game, everybody was looking at the score was 22-1. And somehow they were able to come back and get the win. But ultimately, even with the win, Levine didn't seem too happy after the game. I don't know what happened. They probably, the PR woman, she probably wanted Zach to talk to the sideline reporter after the game to get his thoughts. I don't know the whole story behind this, but people are gonna take the clip and do what they want to do with it. But this is a report from Jay Cowley Hoops saying Billy Donovan was downright tricked by Zach LaVine's behavior after last night's game. Sources indicated that the front office was made aware of the situation immediately and was less than thrilled with LaVine's actions. This is also following a report during the week that the Bulls front office and Zach LaVine's people, he's represented by Rich Paul from Clutch Sports, they're willing to have discussions about a potential trade. So what's your thoughts on all of this and how do you see it playing out? And give me some, a couple teams you think you could see Zach LaVine on in the future.
The writing's on the wall. It's time to move on. It's like you mentioned, we all, like, neither one of us, myself, you and Michael, we haven't been high on the Bulls at all. I'm still not high on them. I don't even like talking about them, to be honest with you. And I'll be real, I'll give them credit because they were down 22-1 last night, which I don't think I've ever seen that ever in my life watching basketball. But for them to be able to turn it around and actually find a way to win that game, that was a good sign for them. And also that was a bad sign for Miami as well. But, man, like, I don't know. It's like, the reports that came out last week or this past week about LaVine possibly getting moved, I think is what's best. I think Chicago just needs to blow it up as a whole. Trade LaVine, trade DeMar DeRozan. I don't know what the future is going to look like for Lonzo because, he's still looking to come back from his injury, so who knows what's going to happen there. I don't even know how many more years he has on his contract. But I think LaVine, I know that he may not be known for his defense, but I think that he's a guy, maybe not your number one option offensively, but he shows that he can be a great number two or possibly number three, depending on what the situation is. I like Miami. I don't know if Miami will possibly trade for him because they obviously love Hero so much, and I'm sure that Chicago was going to ask for Hero in that trade. But if there was a scenario where they could have kept, or if they could trade for LaVine and keep Hero, I would definitely go for that in a heartbeat. We mentioned Golden State earlier. I know that LaVine isn't the guy that Klay Thompson once was, when you talk about 2016 or 17 or whatever, but I think that he can provide a huge boost offensively for the team. I know that there's been reports about the Lakers because they've been unhappy with what Austin Reeves has given them, especially after they just gave him the bag this past offseason. But then again, who knows? Because Cam Reddish has been playing pretty well for them over the past week or so. So, maybe they might want to hold off on that. But I think if you put Zach LaVine in a good situation, I think that he'll be able to shine. I just know that, and look, you got to give him credit because, he went through like an ACL tear early in his career, ended up coming back, being able to develop his game because he really came into the league as really like a high flyer and a dunker. So for him, like you could say going to Chicago was probably the best thing for him because he was in Minnesota. Then he got traded in a Jimmy Butler trade. And he was able to just develop an overall great offensive game. It's translating. He became an all-star. He played a pivotal role in the Bulls when they made the playoffs and they faced Milwaukee in the first round a few years ago. So LaVine still has tremendous value. I don't know if people can see it, but because he's on a bad Bulls team. But I'll be honest, man, I think any team, especially any playoff contender, could really use a guy like Zach LaVine and what he brings to the table offensively.
Yeah, the writing's on the wall, man. This is, I think.
And plus, my bad, sorry not to cut you off, but if you have a team meeting after the first game, that's a bad sign right there.
Exactly. Especially, and it's not like they've added much to this roster. They've kind of been the same team. They got the same core over the last two and a half years or so, outside of obviously losing Lonzo Ball. So yeah, I agree. Like to already have a player meeting, first couple games into the season, it's not a good sign. But I just think either way, Levine to get traded, DeRozan, probably Vucevic as well. It's just time for Chicago. I mean, just look at the Chicago teams historically. How the teams that were most successful, how they primarily were built through the draft. Look at Jordan was drafted, Pippen drafted. They brought
Derrick
in
Rose, yeah.
the Derrick Rose run. He was drafted. Noah. They brought in a couple free agents here and there, Boozer and from them Rose days, Rodman for the 90s Bulls. They brought in guys, but ultimately their core guys, at least two out of the three of their core guys, they got from the draft. So for this team, none of these guys for the Bulls are drafted. So I think I've been drafted by the Bulls. So I just think it's time. I just think it's time for them to get as much assets as possible, start over. I think you do it now, as opposed. I think it's probably best to do it now, as opposed to wait until the trade deadline. For what? I mean, I think at this point, get the most you can today. While these players still have a lot of value, you don't know what's going to happen in February. Guys get hurt, things of that nature, and then the value diminishes, and then you might not be able to get what you thought you were going to get when the trades first started to talk. Now, you don't want to get fleeced. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying just make a crazy move and put yourself in a predicament where you won't get everything possible, but take your time with it. I'm sure these are discussions, if they are smart front office, I'm sure these are discussions that they've had already, because just based off the lack of success that this core has had over the last few years. So I just think, man, you add Caruso in there. Those are good options. Those are all four of those players would be great on contending teams. All four of them. And like I said, I'm a fan of Vucevic. Like I don't dislike him. I just feel like he has limitations in certain aspects of his game. But a team like Golden State would be perfect, I think, because yes, he can't guard Jokic, but he can make Jokic play defense, and that would get him tired.
Size, yeah,
solid screen setter.
He's also able to space the floor as well.
Yeah, and I think he would work better in Golden State because he could go back to how he played in Orlando. Because in Orlando, he was more back to the basket, being physical. That was more of his game. And then when he went to Chicago, he had to be more of a floor spacing five and shoot more threes because Levine and DeRozan play their game in the mid-range. So I think Golden State should definitely look at someone like Vucevic. I think that'd be a great move. You have Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Vucevic. That's a good starting five to me. I think, with those guys staying healthy, that could be a solid move. You only have one player on the team in your starting five that's not the best shooter. Wiggins is, he hasn't been playing great. He's kind of hit or miss, but he's obviously a better shooter than Draymond. So that'd be a good move. For the Lakers, yeah, I mean, if you got to trade D'Lo for Levine, of course you make that move. So Levine's a better player than D'Angelo Russell.
Okay, yeah, without question.
But I don't. I mean, it would that trade. They might ask for Reeves. They might ask for Reeves and a couple guys.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, they're probably gonna ask for Reeves. D'Lo may be in that conversation, but I don't know if I don't know. I mean, guys like Max Christie or somebody may be a part of that. A young guy.
I think they would probably go after DeRozan because he's on the expiring deal, and I think his play style. He's durable. He doesn't miss a lot of games. I mean, this is a guy. Remember, we had him in the MVP conversation when we first
2 years ago. Yeah,
trio. Yeah, on MSC Hoops. You know what I mean? So it's like that element is still there, and he's also someone that could score. LeBron doesn't necessarily, and LeBron's playing out of his mind this past week, but He doesn't have to be someone that, he's someone that LeBron could depend on, get a bucket, because we see moments where AD doesn't always want to have to go get 30. Like, yeah, he could get 30. We know he could do that. But then if we see there's games where he kind of just wants to get 18, 14, and a couple blocks and steals. You get a guy like DeRozan in there, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get your 20 plus 5 and 5, solid defense, really good free throw shooter at the end of games, a closer as well. So I think DeRozan will probably be a better fit. They're going to have to give up people, but that's just the nature of a trade. What that would be, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, obviously Chicago will be looking at young guys, but I think personally, I think they should probably go after someone like DeRozan as opposed to LaVine. If I was the Lakers, I look at Miami. Miami's playing well. I mean, they were just on a 7-game win streak before this loss yesterday.
Bro, Bam has been playing out of his mind too.
Yeah, Bam's playing like, what we hoped he would play like, a guy that's a clear-cut second option, go out there, get 20 to 25, get 25 points on top of everything else he does defensively, playmaking for the team. Heroes missed some time, and they've still been able to find some ways and win some games. So, but I still feel like bringing in either a guy like LaVine or DeRozan would definitely help that team, because we know Jimmy does miss some games during the regular season. So if you bring it, but DeRozan and LaVine and Butler kind of play the same way, and they they like to work in that mid-range area. So that would, and Bam too. So that would be an adjustment. But they got Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the world. So I think he'd have something in place if that were to ever happen. Just thinking about some other teams.
I actually like that move as far as DeRozan being in Miami, because like I said, DeRozan and Jimmy are kind of similar guys, but I feel like, obviously Jimmy can score, but I feel like if you have a guy of DeRozan's caliber who, DeRozan is really prioritizing his scoring, I feel like if you have a guy of that caliber, I think Jimmy probably wouldn't mind taking a step back offensively. Now, obviously, he's going to have his moments, but I think that, if you do have a guy like DeRozan who can carry the load offensively, that'll allow a guy like Jimmy to prioritize more and possibly playmaking and obviously, being active on defense and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think either one of those players I think would be big time for a team like Miami if they're able to somehow figure that out. For Caruso, he can go to any team. He'll make an impact. He's a champion. He knows what it takes to win. So in any team, Sacramento.
What do you think about? Sorry, not
Philadelphia.
That's what I'm gonna ask. What do you possibly think about LaVine in Philly? Because I know that they got Maxey. Maxey is emerging as that second option for the team, and I don't think that would change even if LaVine is on the team. But like, could you possibly see like a Maxey LaVine backcourt by chance?
Well, they're gonna have to commit on the defensive end.
That's true.
For one, Nick Nurse is defensive first, so you're gonna have to buy in from that perspective. I'm not against it, but we've also seen Tobias Harris play really well right now. With after the Harden trade, so he's become that third guy, and now he's going back to the fourth, which he's accustomed to. But he's right. Like, how many times I've had to be a fourth option? How many times I have to show that I could be a third option? So that's why I feel like Caruso would probably be a better fit. Because Caruso's someone that's a seamless fit. He's not stepping on anyone's toes. He could come off the bench if need be. He could start. He could close games. LaVine, DeRozan, it could work, but it would be an adjustment. It'll definitely be an adjustment there. It's not like having Harden there where Harden's just completely ball dominant. But you're still gonna have to be able to find ways to make it work when they're out there on the court, because Embiid likes to work in the mid-range too. He does a short roll, get to that 17-foot jump shot and rise up. So it's not like he's completely paint oriented, and he could shoot the three, but he's not someone that's jacking up a bunch of threes. But still, if you want to compete against the Bostons and Milwaukee, it doesn't hurt to have a guy that could get you 20 any given night. It doesn't hurt. It's just a matter of are is everyone else on the team committed and willing to do everything possible and sacrifice to win? Like that's the main goal. Like every team is talented. So Philadelphia, I think they're definitely going to try to see what's up there. Could look at Brooklyn too. They got some good pieces, but they just got to. To me, I mean, they have Cam Thomas. I mean, he's injured right now. They have I like Miles Bridges. I mean, McCall Bridges. They got a bunch of guys. Like they don't have. I thought McCall Bridges would end up being that guy, and maybe that'll take some time. We're still only 12, 13 games into the season, but they need another piece. They need another piece if they want to contend in the Eastern Conference and be like one of the upper echelon type teams in the East. I know they just got Claxton back, but watching that game tonight or this afternoon when they went up against the Sixers, you could just tell like they need one more guy. They need one more guy to really get them to that contention in the Eastern Conference. So yeah, there's a few teams out there.
I think DeRozan will fit well in Brooklyn. I could see that.
You said DeRozan?
Yeah, I was saying DeRozan.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good fit because again, McCall is a guy who could play off the ball. He did that throughout his entire career in Phoenix. So that's not necessarily a difficult adjustment for him if need be. So I think those are some good teams for these guys. But I think all four guys, as I mentioned earlier, could definitely help a team.
I was going to ask you this as well. For either LaVine or DeRozan, what do you possibly think about Minnesota? Because I know Ant-Man is the number one option. I know that you can probably put him at the 2 or the 3. What do you possibly think about that? Possibly one of those guys playing next to him, and then of course adding that combination of Cat as well.
I don't know if any one of those guys. I'd say again Caruso because they kind of Minnesota right now. They're clicking on all cylinders. And
That's true.
We'll kind of talk about that as we do our standings outlook. But I don't think they need a player like LaVine or DeRozan. I think they just need more high quality role players like Bruce Brown type, like how Denver had a guy like Bruce Brown come in there and do a multitude of things. I think if someone like Caruso would help them tremendously. And Chris Finch, he's defensive minded. That's what he's all about. I mean, they're a defensive-minded team. Mike Conley's, he's up there, but he's still a solid defender at the point guard position. Ant-Man has really stepped up defensively since last year. You got McDaniels, who's a really good 3-and-D wing. And Cat is not the best defender, but when you have, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year as your anchor, you can kind of gamble and do some things. So I don't think they need those guys. I don't think they need those guys. I just think they need a couple more role players in that second unit.
Respect it.
All right, let's transition to the in-season tournament. I think we're like week 2 or week 3 of the in-season tournament.
I think week 3.
Week 3, yeah.
Past, yeah.
So we're going to react to that. So here are the standings in the East, Group A. Off the first glance, man, what's your reaction to Group A?
You got to give credit to the Pacers, man. They've been playing well, and they got a really big win on that Tuesday against Philly, especially after that bounce back. Because people forget last Sunday they faced each other. Tyrese Maxey had gotten 50 on them, and then they came back. 2 nights later, had a really good performance. Tyrese Halliburton had a good game. Miles Turner did as well. So that really what stands out to me. As far as the other teams, I know that Detroit's eliminated. Philly's right up there as well. So I'll be real, man. You got to give credit to Indiana, man, because they've been taking care of business in the tournament. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you want to, especially for a young team like them. This is an opportunity for the young teams to really show that they can compete in these type of atmosphere, like a tournament or playoff atmosphere. So for the Pacers to be able to get 2 wins and remain undefeated in the play-in tournament, is a good thing to see. So that's probably my biggest takeaway is, watching a young team like the Pacers. I mean, obviously overall play great throughout the season, but just being able to take care of business during the play-in tournament.
Yeah, the Pacers are obviously the biggest surprise. But not I want to say surprise because we thought they were going to be really good this year, but just the consistency with them being a young team, like you said, they're playing well. They got the win on Philadelphia after a tough loss earlier, a couple days prior. Their last two games, the Hawks and the Pistons. And even though the Pistons, I think they've lost 11 in a row. If I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, man. That's crazy.
So, but that's still not necessarily like an easy game. You got to go out there and win that game and get them out of there. Pretty much, it's at home, so it's a lot easier. At Atlanta, it's not an easy game either. I mean, they got some guys that could go out there, score, play defense. So they got to be able to take care of business. And then Philadelphia, they got their last game is against Cleveland.
Yeah, so, that should be a win for them. I would assume. Cleveland's been up and down throughout this year, for the most part.
Yeah, they've been up and down. They've struggled. They've had guys in and out of the lineup. So it's going to take some time for them to adjust with that. I would expect them to win that game. So I think it might just come right back down to they got to hope Indiana gets one of those losers pretty much.
Sure, yeah.
If they want to get number one in the group. And
it's going to be tough because Indy plays Atlanta and then they play Detroit, so they got two easy ones. So who knows?
Yeah, they got to hope one of those teams come in there and get an upset for sure. Cavs and Hawks, they're just 1-1, just too inconsistent, man. Too inconsistent.
Oh man, the Hawks.
We're gonna talk about that later. Group B got the Bucks, the Heat, the Knicks, the Hornets, and the Wizards. Obviously, the Wizards and the Hornets, there's nothing to say there.
Poverty Wizards, man.
Yeah, they're not good. Did you just see that? I just saw a report that just came out. I
saw that too. Yeah, talking about
I'll wait till later though. Yeah, I'll wait till later to talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I thought this is how it would be. This is a big game. Knicks against the Heat. That's a big game on Tuesday.
That's gonna be a good one.
That's a big game. It's in Miami too. So no, it's in the Garden. So
yeah, it's in the Garden.
That's gonna be a great game. It's gonna be a great game.
What's that court gonna look like? Probably mostly orange, most part.
I forgot how we
Have they played a home game?
I think this is our first.
Yeah, this is gonna be the first home game of the tournament.
Yeah. This is the first home game of the tournament. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. We had two road games. Mm-hmm. So actually, I think I forgot. I saw the image online, but I think it's blue. I think it's orange and blue, obviously. But I think it's a little bit more orange. I believe. The jerseys are fire though. I think we got the best. I think we got the best jerseys, City Edition jerseys in the league, in my opinion. That's just me. I'm obviously biased.
I gotta see those. I can't remember what those look like.
It's Ronnie Feig with the Kith collaboration. It's fire because it does like a transparent, like it's sometimes when you move a certain way you see the stripes, and then when you move another way it has no stripes. Like it's the way they did it. The way they did it was hard, bro. The way he customized the jerseys was fire. So I think that game's on TNT. So definitely look out for that one. I think ultimately, I think the Knicks could play spoiler here, really. I mean, if they get the win against Miami and they do what they're supposed to do against the Hornets like they did yesterday, it could be interesting. Obviously, we expect Milwaukee to, blast the Wizards.
I mean, Miami's gonna be a tough one, man. And this is a Milwaukee team. I mean, they've been better. That was a big one that they got last night against Dallas, but they're a team that's still kind of trying to figure things out. So Miami could possibly get a sneaker one. I guess.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. It's very possible. It's very possible. So I can't wait to see how this plays out on Tuesday. Tuesday will tell us a lot. Group C in the East. I think Yeah, I think Boston, they're going to run away with this.
Definitely.
They got Orlando and Chicago up next. Orlando's not an easy game because I like their team a lot.
Man, Paulo's been crazy.
Yeah. I think he posterized somebody today.
Yeah. He had a game winner against the Bulls earlier this week as well.
Yeah. He got the game winner, yes. So that's not an easy game at all. And honestly, like Chicago's not really an easy game either because they do have talented guys. You just don't know what team you're going to get on a nightly basis. But true. All in all, I feel like they're gonna sweep through this
easily.
Yeah.
I like Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn, they have one more game left. They got to play Toronto. So I mean I would assume that could be an easy win for them, but then you never know because Scotty Barnes has improved tremendously throughout the season. I mean, they still got Pascal. They still got guys like Gary Trent Jr. and others. So, I mean, that could be a real competitive game, but I would probably try to pick Brooklyn to sneak away with that one.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely going to be interesting to see. So, all right, looking at Group A in the West, Lakers are 3-0. Then they face Utah to close out that game 4.
I would say that should be a good or like an easy win, but Utah's been pretty decent, so I can't really get mad at them because I mean they're also 2-1 as well in the in-season tournament. So that one could be a real competitive one. But I love how the Lakers have been able to take care of business. You know, they got that big win against Phoenix in the first one, and then obviously it just seems like they're always going to bully Memphis at this point. Being able to win that one, so. They got some 2 huge wins, or actually three wins in that one. Of course, obviously being Portland on Friday. So, this one against Utah could be a really huge one, and let's see if they can capitalize and get that win.
Yeah, they capitalize this, and they're good to go. They're good to go. If they lose, then it can get interesting because Phoenix they play Portland and Memphis, and we assume that they're going to get that win. We're going to assume they're going to win those 2 games. So. I think now then it becomes to the point differential, and I think the Lakers' point differential is so crazy, plus 42. So unless they get blown out, it'll be tough for them to lose that lead, and in Group 1, I mean in Group A. All right, Group B. Pelicans 2-1, Nuggets are 2-1, and the Rockets are 1-1, and the Mavericks and the Clippers are 1-2.
I think Dallas should be able to. Well, I don't know. I mean, Houston's been playing pretty well, so that one should be a good game. But I think Dallas should be able to get that one. The Clippers going up against the Pels in that last game. That could be a real competitive one. And
be a great game.
Hopefully, the Clippers can capitalize off of that win against Houston a few nights ago. So honestly, Group B's got some really good competition in this one.
Yeah, yes, and I think we had talked about this when they first came out with the seeding and the teams for each group. We said this was going to be one of the most competitive groups because of the teams here, and it's living up to the hype. Everyone has a loss, so Pelicans. I forgot who they lost to. They lost to the Timberwolves in a close game. B.I. missed a game winner the other night.
Looks like they lost to Houston. They lost the first game to Houston, the Pelicans.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the games leading up to the end season.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got you.
Season game, the end season game. Because that plays a factor too. Like they say they lose a game from just a mental standpoint and everything, and an urgency perspective. But yeah, that Clipper game is going to be competitive for sure. Houston already beat Denver.
Yeah, that's
in a non-season game, so they have that confidence over the Rockets. I mean, over the Nuggets. And Houston, they got Denver and Dallas, so it's gonna get close. It's gonna be close. Houston, they're gonna have to win by a substantial margin if they even really get it to a level where they can possibly win the group. But Pelicans, the Pelicans are in control. They just got to get that dub against the Clippers.
That's a fact.
And then last but not least, Group C, Kings, Timberwolves, Warriors, OKC, and the Spurs. Spurs, they're chopped.
Yeah.
OKC, despite having a good in season tournament, took some L's. That last game against Minnesota is going to be tough, but their
That's gonna be
differential,
a good game.
yeah, their differential number is good, so they're gonna have to. They got to play spoiler. They got to beat Minnesota.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because Minnesota, they still got to play Sacramento, so
yeah,
that could be another tough one.
Yeah, exactly. In Minnesota, they get Sacramento and OKC, so they gotta control. They gotta get that W against the T-Bulls, and then hope one of those other teams get the dub to put them in position to win the group. So that this group right here is going to be probably the most competitive.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So I'm excited. I can't wait to see how it plays out. In-season games are on Tuesdays and Fridays. In-season tournament games are on Tuesdays and Fridays. So look out for that for our fans watching the games. Now let's transition to looking at the standings overall in the NBA for Week 4. Give our takes on what we're seeing so far from certain teams and how everyone's playing and what could potentially happen down the road.
I think we're already about a month in, or almost a month now into the season.
Yep. So we're looking at the Eastern Conference. The top 6 are the Celtics, Sixers, Bucks, Heat, the Magic, and the Knicks. And then 7 through 10 are the Pacers, Cavs, Hawks, Nets. And then to follow out the next group is the Raptors, Bulls, Hornets, Wizards, and the Detroit Pistons. So
honestly, I think the last 5 are probably gonna be the same. With those teams, it's no knock or no disrespect. I just don't think that they're as good as any of the other first 10 teams listed above. But I'll be honest, man. It's crazy because coming into this season, especially with the whole Harden debacle, we didn't know where Philly would be. Especially with them, having to make the adjustments, not only just with Harden, but obviously bringing in Nick Nurse. After letting go of Doc Rivers, so we were trying to figure out, how is that going to be able to mesh well, but they've played tremendous. They lost that first game against Milwaukee, and then after that, they went on an 8 or 9 game winning streak. So they've just been locked in from the beginning. And I remember even in that first game against Milwaukee, they had chances of being able to win that one. Yeah. Because obviously Milwaukee, they were still trying to figure themselves out at the time too. So. Philly's played tremendously. We obviously touched on Boston. We think that Boston is the best team of the Eastern Conference. And I mean, even though Philly's right there, I don't think that they're there yet as far as, being better than Boston as far as emerging as the best team of the East. Milwaukee at 9-4, like I said, I mean, they definitely are making improvements, but there still are some things that I would love to see. I would love to see them possibly get better defensively. And I know that Dame has had his struggles, but he seems to kind of have came on over the past recent games. So I'd love to see that. And then, of course, Giannis going off last night. I think he had 40-something last night. So, that was a really big boost for them. Miami got off to a really slow start, too, but then they started to pick it up. Bam has been playing tremendous. And it's like you said, I mean, this is the Bam that we've wanted. And I think it pretty much kind of started out even kind of last year in the playoffs, more so in the finals, because I've been on record saying that, he was the best player in a Miami uniform when they played against Denver in the finals. And I think that he's been able to carry that over to the regular season as well. We've seen, he had a triple-double with the 2020-10 game against the Lakers. And he's just been able to be a monster just on both ends of the floor. So I love what I'm seeing from them. And then also, of course, you got to mention Jimmy. You got to give credit to Tyler Hero as well. They've all played exceptional. Orlando's that I wouldn't say they're a surprising team because we've all been high on Orlando, but we just didn't expect them to really be in the top 6 position in the Eastern Conference. I know that it's early, but we touched on it. They've been playing well. Paulo's played tremendous basketball. Obviously, Franz Wagner as well. Markelle Fultz and the rest of the team goes on and on. They have a really great young core. Paulo hitting that game winner against Chicago. So I love that young team and what they've been able to have. And it's shown as well. And I know that we have a lot of season left, but man, if they can continue to sit around from maybe this 4 to 10 range, being around there, I think they'll be good to go. So I've definitely been impressive. New York, they've gotten a lot of big wins. Obviously Jalen Brunson's still playing his exceptional basketball. Probably the biggest thing for me is, the emergence of RJ Barrett. And, I love the fact that he's been able to play with more confidence and just being able to play better overall as a whole. And, it's obviously been able to benefit and win. So, I'm definitely impressed with that. Indiana, was another team that I mentioned that, that started off the season really well. They got that big win against Philly last week. So, with Tyrese Halliburton, driving the ship, I think that they're going to be good to go for a long time. They got a championship head coach in Rick Carlisle. So that definitely does, add a little, definitely add something to that team. So, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with Indiana. And then, of course, to round it up, you got Cleveland, who's been up and down, Atlanta, who has also been up and down. Atlanta's pretty much cooked at this point. I'm sorry. I think it's about time to make some changes. And then Brooklyn, too. Brooklyn, I think losing Cam Thomas was a big loss, especially with what he's been able to, especially with how he was producing offensively before the injury. So who knows where the team will be when he does come back. But I think that Brooklyn's kind of in the right position. I think they have a great talent. I think they have great talents around them, but I don't know if they're emerging yet as a true contender in the Eastern Conference. So overall, the East has been pretty good. There's some good teams, and then of course there's some teams that's still trying to find themselves. And we'll see how the rest of the year goes for the conference.
Celtics are doing exactly what I expected. They had 2 close losses against the Sixers and the Timberwolves. But outside of that, man, 5-game win streak. They got the win against the Knicks. Wow, I'm just watching this Suns Jazz game.
It's good. Tied up right now, at least on my screen.
Yeah, it's tied. They just tied it up. But they're doing exactly what they need to be doing. They're just playing at a high level. I just think they're head and shoulders above all the other teams in the conference. And I just think because of that, we got overtime. Wow.
Yeah. I didn't really like that shot by Booker, but
yeah, I think they could have got a better shot. But you'll live with it. They had a great game on Friday too.
Yeah, that was a really good game.
Yeah, KD came
really
in
good.
Dagger. Telling you, Jazz. Well, I'll talk about the Jazz a little later, but Sixers playing well. Again, like I said, but I just think Tobias Harris is really filling into that third option, playing well, confident, getting to his spots. Nick Nurse has done a hell of a job. I think he's definitely right up there with Mazzulla and that Coach of the Year discussions. I know we're not even a quarter away through the season right now, but what he's been able to do, what they've been able to do defensively, they smoked the Nets today. On the road, they're 4-1 on the road, 6-2 at home. They're just playing at a high level. Embiid's playing every game. That's also what we want to see as well. Durability, still getting to his spots, but he's become a much better playmaker this year, making the right reads, understanding where the defense is trying to defend him at, making the right reads, getting into the right guys at the right moments, not making late passes. Anthony Melton shooting 42% from 3. Perfect starter for them. His ability to play off the ball. He can put the ball on the floor too. He's a really good player, really underrated player. I think Memphis, they messed up getting rid of him. I think they could have definitely kept him. They traded him for what, Danny Green?
I believe.
I think Philadelphia, they gave up Danny Green, right? For Melton. And then
yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So it's that's a hell of a trade. That's a hell of a trade. To get a bona fide starter who could, shoot the lights out is perfect for someone like Embiid. So, and Maxey. Yeah. Bucks, I knew the Bucks, it would take a little bit more time because that Sixer team and the Celtics, Holiday's a seamless fit. Their core guys have really been there for the majority of the time, and the shot hierarchy for Boston and Philadelphia really doesn't change that much. Yes, you go instead of it being Harden and Embiid, it's Maxey and Embiid, but Harden missed game. You know, they've played together already for years, so they know how each other play. For the Bucks, it was going to be different because Dame is coming in. He's a much better player than Middleton, and him and Giannis are going to have to. You know, they're working through some things, and they're still number 3 in the East. The top 4, I'm not surprised by. I'm really not. I mean, this has been the cream of the crop of the East for the last 3 years. I mean, all 4 of these teams, or 3 out of the 4 of these teams have been to the finals. So
Sure.
I don't expect anything less from the 4 teams. Orlando, I'm a little surprised by it for them to start the season this well. They're on a 3-game win streak right now. Paolo's playing great. Franz Wagner's playing well. What they're going to have to figure out is they have their core. I believe they have their core 3, and I think their core 3 is Wagner, Banchero, and Isaac.
Yeah.
I believe as Isaac starts to get healthy and he continues to recover, I think that's going to be their 3 cornerstone pieces right there. So from there, they got to figure out the point guard spot and the center spot. So that's going to be the key. That's going to be the key factor. Is it going to be Suggs? Is it going to be Fultz? I think Cole Anthony is probably the spark plug off the bench for them. I think that's a great role. They gave him an extension. I think that's probably what will suit him best, being that 6-man type guy. But that starting point guard and starting center spot for the Orlando Magic, I think if they get that right, they're going to be right up there with these. They're going to be right where they are right now for the foreseeable future, because their core 3 is excellent. I mean, it doesn't get any better. You got 3 6'10" guys that can create their own shot, play defense, pass, knock down free throws, switch on defense. I mean, that's the perfect core 3 if you're a team. And they struck gold with Isaac, Banchero, and Franz. It's incredible. It's incredible. Then now it's just figuring out the second unit and getting the point guard and starting center spot down. And once they're able to do that, they're going to be right up there with the Celtics, with the Bucks, with Miami, and some of these other, and Philadelphia down the road. Now Isaac has to stay healthy. If he stays healthy and all 3 of those guys develop chemistry, they're going to be dangerous. The Knicks doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. I just think for the Knicks, they're playing well. They're playing well. I got to give credit where it's due. Randall's playing really good basketball after struggling the first week of the season, making the right reads. He's not taking bad shots. He's going to the basket, using his size, using his strength to go up, making good passes to the shooters. Dante DiVincenzo had a crazy game yesterday against the Hornets, 7 threes, 25 points. Thank you, Golden State, for not keeping him.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, y'all. I'll be real. I thought that was a really big pickup for them.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that was a great pickup for us. And again, Knicks, same team, just like I talked about those other teams. They kept their core guy. I mean, DiVincenzo was the only acquisition we brought in, so nothing really changed. So when that's such a big factor. When you
I just realized like I got a lot of guard play. When you talk about Brunson, Quentin Grimes, Dante, IQ. I got a lot of great guard play, especially in that backcourt. Now.
Yeah, I think we have. To me, I think we got from a depth standpoint. I think we're definitely one of the deepest teams in the league, because when Mitchell Robinson comes out, Hartenstein comes in.
Yeah,
he's not the type of rim protector Mitchell is, but in terms of the rebounding standpoint, and then what he brings from a perspective of passing off the block, getting guys involved, cutting to the basket. They both have different styles, but they're both so impactful. Hartenstein and Mitchell, I mean, I think that's the best center duo from a starting backup standpoint, I think, in the league. I think anybody, on the show, they could challenge me on that, but I don't see a center duo better right now. We're built for the regular season. RJ's coming back off the migraine yesterday, off the migraines, so he's playing solid. And we're gonna be a really good team, but ultimately it just comes down to, can we beat these top upper echelon teams? That's what's gonna matter at the end of the day, come playoff time. But I like what I see. I like the way the Knicks are playing. I like the ball movement. We're 8th in the league in 3-point percentage. I never thought I'd be able to see that or say that. So that's a positive. I think the Pacers, they're still going to be right there. They're still going to be competitive. They lost to the Magic today, and that's why the seeding is the way it was. But they were right there in the top 6. I don't think that's going to change. The Cavs are going to be a tough team to defeat on a nightly basis. They're talented as well. Outside of that, I mean, those are the core 8 to me, man. I don't see the Hawks or the Nets really doing anything unless they come in and make a big trade or a big move. They're just going to be inconsistencies for the Hawks because, man, they don't have they need a dynamic wing and power forward. Now maybe Jalen Johnson down the road can develop into that guy, but what's the time to, like, how patient will they be with that? You know what I mean? Like, he was a rookie last year. His second year, he's starting. He's playing great. I was impressed by the way he played when they played the Knicks. He had a great game. He has to work on his defense, but that Hunter Jalen Johnson, they got to figure that out. They got to get another guy in that scenario.
And that's the thing too, because it's like they have a few guys. Like, I mean, I know that Quinn Snyder, he likes to have Sadiq Bey in that rotation, a few times. So it's like, I don't know what it is for Atlanta, but I've been saying, like after this year, because I'll be wrong, I expect them to be playing tournament again. Possibly get out, possibly not. But even if they do get out, they're probably first round exit again. So I feel like some changes need to. It's kind of like what I said with Golden State. Like, I think some drastic changes need to happen for Atlanta, because if we're gonna be honest, they haven't really gotten better since that year that they made the conference finals. And I'll give credit to DeJounte Murray, because I think that he's played a lot better this year, at least through the first month of this year, than he probably played all last year. So I'll definitely give him his credit, but I just don't think this Hawks team constructed is going to be able to compete with those other teams that we mentioned, like the New Yorks or Miami's, or you look at Orlando, they're playing better basketball than them right now. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, I think Atlanta, I mean, they got some talented guys, but I just think that constructed, I just don't know if this team really has what it takes.
Yeah, and again, it starts at the top, man. I mean, Trae Young is just. I know we go back and forth, but he's just not. He's just not a number one. That's really what it is. He's not a number one. I know he got them to the Eastern Conference Finals that one year, but he's not a number one option. He doesn't play good enough defense at all. High turnovers, low efficiency. That's not a number one option to me. So until they make a trade or draft a guy, this is what they're going to be. This is what they're going to be, man. And the Nets, same thing. I don't think they have a number one.
Oh my bad. KD just hit a big three. Dang. That was good defense too by Utah, man. They were switching, they were moving effectively.
Yeah, they got better players.
Yeah,
they got better players, and Markin is playing great, but
he is.
It's tough. These other teams, not really much else to say. I'll just say one thing about the Hornets.
Okay,
Brandon
Miller. I told people.
Yeah.
Hey, honestly, LaMelo's been playing pretty well too.
LaMelo's been playing pretty well. I know they got Bridges that just came back after the suspension. That's their core. But if they have to just get games together. That's what they have. LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Bridges. Those three guys. If those three guys,
I'll say them, and then I'll say PJ's like on the outside looking in. I think that he's a crucial part of this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say they need a power forward. That's the thing. They need a power forward. I think because he's just PJ Washington's too inconsistent. They got to get off that Hayward contract, or Hayward Or Hayward, if he's willing to come off the bench and be a 6-man, that'd be great. Him and Rozier, because I know Rozier's not there, but ultimately, man, like LaMelo, Miller, Bridges, that's their core three. And then I like Mark Williams, center out of Duke. I think that's
he's been really good.
Yeah, he's gonna be he's the perfect big man for them. And 2 out of those 3 guys, honestly, I feel like all 3 of those guys, they have to be able to commit on the defensive end. That's the only way they can win. Because watching them last night, they start games slow, then they come back because they're talented, but then they have bad habits. Their habits are so bad. So they have to be able to commit on the deep. LaMelo, he's a great offensive player, but he's going to have to play defense. I think Miller will be a great 2-way guy for them down the road as he gets stronger. But in terms of him getting to his spots, he already has all that. I mean, he's already ready. And I think Bridges will take some time as he's getting back acclimated. But that's really all the outlook I got to say about the Eastern Conference.
Hang on 1 second, man. We gotta dive into this, man, because the news just broke. The Wizards are likely to move on from Jordan Poole as team officials don't view him as a cornerstone material. It's sad, man. It's really, really sad because Michael and I came on here before the season started. I said that he was going to average around 27. I was like, hey, he's going to have the green light to shoot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we saw the flashes of what he could be in Golden State. So now he's in a position to possibly be the number 1 option. Let's see how he does. And it hasn't really been good. It hasn't been good at all. It's kind of surprising, though, that the Wizards are giving up this early, though. But it just shows that, yeah, I don't know. Things are just not good in Washington right now.
Yeah, he's just, again, I knew they weren't going to be a good team.
Right.
Because him and Kuzma don't play defense. They just chuck up a bunch of shots. And when those are your 2 best guys, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to have a lot of success. Kuzma doesn't play defense at all. And Poole, yeah, I mean, you guys, that was a wild take, man. That was a wild take.
Hey, look, at this point, I ain't even mad if I'm wrong. I'm just glad he's not on my team no more.
Nah, yeah, that's you guys dodged the bullet for sure, man. I think I just think he's better than what he is.
Right.
It's good to have confidence, but you also got to be honest, right? Like, and I just think the shots that he's taking and the way he's playing, he thinks he's Curry, and he's not. He never will be. So he has to humble himself because the talent is there, no question. But it's just the mindset and the mental. I think for Poole, he has to change that. Him winning that championship, him helping the Warriors win that championship.
And that's the thing, because he was exceptional. Like, it was to the point where people were saying, hey, start Jordan Poole over Klay Thompson. Obviously, I didn't agree with that, but like, he showed potential to be able to run a team, because people forget before the playoffs began that year, Steph had got hurt in a game against Boston. He ended up missing just about the rest of the year. So in that first round, they had Jordan Poole starting at the point guard, and they had Steph coming off the bench throughout that first round. And he outshined everybody. Outshined Jokic, outshined just about everybody in that first round. So he has the potential. Like, it's like you said, I mean, he's better than what he is right now. It's just, I think it's kind of like a mindset thing and a maturity thing.
Yeah, both. Yep, definitely. Mindset and maturity. And then also, it's also the Wizards. I mean, they're just not good.
Yeah.
They haven't been good for a long time.
It's been, since the John Wall days.
That was like.
Well, actually, take that back. I mean, they made the playoffs with Russ and
outside of that 1 year, the outlier year, like you said, they've been terrible. They haven't really hit on their draft picks. Denny Advia is he's a calm player, but he's not a franchise piece.
Yeah, same thing with like Corey Kispert.
I was just about to say that Corey Kispert, not a franchise piece. Good quality, good role players, but not quality guys. If you got to come in and trade for guys, and those guys coming in are better than the guys that you drafted, that means you don't have a good team. So, they're another team. Again, they got to draft. I mean, they're the best run that they had, those guys were drafted. Wall, Beal. They got Otto Porter at a certain time. They got to go back in the draft and get it right. I like Bilal Coulibaly.
Or
But
they just got to get lucky, honestly, because I mean, Gilbert Arenas obviously he came in, I think, from a trade or whatever from Golden State. Same thing with Anton Jameson.
right,
So I don't know. I think they just got to get lucky.
yeah, but yeah, I don't. I mean, I thought that's what they thought, bringing in Poole. Like they thought that was the
Yeah,
Gilbert Arenas. they
that's
thought
true.
they was gonna do the same thing, Warriors to Wizards, and no. It's not. If that report is like, and it's from
Yeah, I
Mark
was like,
Stein.
I don't know if it's true, but
I mean, it's from
I
Mark
don't
Stein.
know.
It's pretty credible.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So I mean, damn, like we're 12 games in, they're already
that's what
trying
I'm
to
saying.
pack
Yeah,
you up.
we're not even like a full month in, man. And they
Says
talking
a
about
lot.
trading him now.
Says a
But that's
lot.
what I'm saying. Like, it has to be something that's, I mean, obviously on the court, but there has to be some things that are going on, like in the locker room and everything. Well, they probably just don't see him as
Yeah,
a
as you
guy that
saying,
can lead
he
this
thinks he's better.
franchise.
He thinks he's better. He thinks he's better than what he is, and it brings to the conversation of. I mean, obviously, I don't support what Draymond did because Poole didn't put his hands on him first, but
Right.
it looked like Poole. He looked like the type to talk crazy.
Yeah.
And he probably said something crazy to Draymond, which triggered him rocking him. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, if those reports are true, I would definitely not be surprised. All right, let's dive into the Western Conference. First seed, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves at 9-3, the Mavericks at 9-4, the Nuggets also at 9-4, OKC at 9-4, Sacramento at 7-4, Houston Rockets at 6-4. That's the top six. 7 through 10, Lakers, Phoenix, Pelicans, and the Warriors. And 11 through 15 is the Clippers, Jazz, Grizzlies, Trailblazers, and the San Antonio Spurs. So what's your thoughts on the Western Conference so far?
As crazy as it is, I'm not surprised that the Spurs have one of the worst or have the worst record in the West. I just thought that I thought they could have been at least like 9, 10, or 11. I don't know. I guess probably with the impact of Victor Wembanyama, I thought, okay, maybe this could help build some momentum for the team. But overall, like looking at the West, I mean, we touched on Minnesota. They're playing incredible. Anthony Edwards, I've been saying, give him the keys. He's averaging around 26, 27 a game. Allow him to be the number one option. And I think that complements him well and also complements Carl-Anthony Towns well as well, but just because, he's been playing pretty well as well. He's averaging like 21, 22, and 10 or something like that. So, Minnesota's clicking. I love how they've been able to capitalize. As like we mentioned, they beat Golden State twice on their home court, which is really, really big. They got some other big wins as well. So, I'm really excited, to see, how Minnesota has continued to progress, because obviously, there's been questions about the front court with Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns, but they're showing that, that's not really a big concern right now. So, at the end of the day, you can't be mad at it. Denver, we talk about, them not having Jamal Murray, but they're still being able to stay afloat. So, got to give credit to them. Obviously, they have the best player in basketball, Nikola Jokic, on the team, so that obviously helps. OKC, I've been high on them for the past few years. I think now, especially with the addition of Chet Holmgren, that definitely makes them better. SGA came off of a 30 ball. I think Chet had like 36 last night as well. So, and they've won 4 in a row. So, you can't be mad at them. Sacramento, man, Sabonis just straight up dominated AD in that Laker game this past Wednesday, which is just insane to me. But they've been playing extremely well. I want to say De'Aaron Fox is averaging around like 30 a game. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think he's averaging at least maybe not 30, but maybe somewhere like close to that. So he's been playing exceptionally well. Dallas is another team that I've been really, really impressed with, and I've just been saying, like, look, man, I think we need to see a full year of Luka and Kyrie together to really see how these two can mesh. And I think that it's been like really good so far. They've been a great compliment to one another. I think they both had like 30 plus in last night's game against Milwaukee. But then another impressive piece to me has been Derek Lively. How he's been able to transition into the NBA and how he's been able to really make an impact. So I'm really, really impressed with him in Dallas as a whole. Houston's been pretty well. I know they just lost, but they had a good stretch as well. The Lakers. See, this is the thing about the Lakers, man. It's like To me, it's like they're not an average team, but it's like, I mean, they're good. Obviously, LeBron leading the way. Year 21, what he's doing right now is just spectacular. But it's like, man, like this team could be a lot better. And it's funny too because I see a lot of Laker fans on the timeline. They're talking about like certain AD games where he's getting like 30 and like 13 or 28 and 15 or something like that. Which I mean, I guess statistic wise, it is impressive. But even though he is putting up those numbers, I still feel like he can take an extra leap that we just haven't seen yet this year. And I feel like until he's able to do that, the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers are still good, but they like AD is the only thing that can make them better. And as long as he continues to keep elevating, like I hope that he can, then they'll be in that conversation as far as one of the top teams in the West. But I think as of right now, and if things just keep continuing to be the way that they are, then they're going to continue to be in that 5, 6, 7 conversation. Phoenix at 6-6. I didn't even check to see if they won or not. But or if the game is still going on. Actually, is it going overtime?
Overtime.
Oh, we're getting another overtime. Okay.
Yeah, Colin Sexton tied it up.
Heck yeah. But no, I mean honestly, this weekend has been really good for them. I mean they got a win against Utah Friday night. KD hit that dagger 3. I don't know, man. It's like this whole Bradley Beal situation is just so weird to me, man. Because it was like, wasn't it like just Wednesday or Thursday they said, hey, he's going to play. And then like an hour before the game, he's not going to play. And now he's going to get reevaluated in 3 weeks. And it's like, how do you go from like literally getting ready to play and now to, I got to get reevaluated in 3 weeks? Like, that's just so weird to me. So obviously his injury is clearly a concern. I just hope it's not to the point where the Suns regret making this trade, because Bradley Beal is a gift to score. He's a tremendous all-around player. So I just hope that somehow, some way, he'll be able to find his way back in the court and be healthy. But overall, I touched on the Suns earlier in the show. KD being at 34, 35 years old, still playing the way that he's played, is just incredible. Devin Booker stepping in as that playmaker, and it's really, really impressive because with him drawing so much attention from the defense, especially with him being known as an elite scorer. Now he adds that playmaking to the mix, and that opens up so many opportunities for a guy like Kevin Durant, for other guys as well who can be snipers on the perimeter. So, with Booker stepping in at that playmaking role, it just makes the game so much easier for the other guys. The Pelicans at 6-7, actually kind of surprising. I thought that they would have like kind of a better start, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. So they're obviously going to be in that conversation as far as top young teams in the West. And then Golden State at the 10 slot. I'm really curious to see where we are once Draymond comes back. Because I mean, I want to say how many games has he been out now for 2 games now, so he has 3 more games as far as being suspended. I really want to see where this team is at, obviously from a record perspective, but then also on the floor as well. So, it's going to be an interesting week for Golden State. To see where they could possibly go. And then to round up the West, obviously, the Clippers, they just got their first win in the Harden era. So, let's see how that could translate. Utah 4-8, they're a young team. Obviously, Lauri Markkanen is, the franchise cornerstone to keep moving forward. John Collins, that was a huge addition. I think that he's played very, very well. Keontae George being the starting point guard is big. I was a fan of him last year when he played at Baylor. So for him to take this leap, I actually didn't expect him to be a starter this fast. Actually, I didn't know if he was going to be a starter, period, in the NBA. So for him to be the starting point guard for Utah right now is really, really good. And then, of course, to round it up, you got teams like Memphis. I touched on San Antonio earlier in Portland. Memphis, I think it's cooked for them. I think it's cooked for this team for the most part. Even when Ja gets back, I don't know if things are going to change. But overall, I mean, the West is just going to continue to get stronger. And that 7-10 slot, I think that can go in any direction. I think that all 4 of these teams that are in that 7-10 slot are really, really good. So I'm interested to see how this conference can really change, as the season progresses.
This conference, man, is insane with the talent. Man, every game, I'm watching this Phoenix and the Jazz right now, and this feels like a playoff game. This feels like, game 2. I think with the little mini series that they do in the schedule where they have, the teams play each other, I think it's perfect. I like that style. Baseball kind of does that. The teams they play.
That's a bad turnover. Come on, Keontae.
Yeah, that was tough. And KD just hit 5 straight points. Start up second OT. Timberwolves, just their defense. What they've been able to do defensively, 8-2 in their last 10 games. I just like the way they're built, man. If McDaniels didn't get hurt in that Nuggets series, and I just go back to what Bruce Brown said. I mean, he was on the court. He said the toughest team we played in the playoffs was Minnesota, and I think a lot of people were caught by surprise considering the fact that Phoenix beat them twice in the second round. But
yeah, just
what they bring, they match up against the Nuggets so well because of the size. And Anthony Edwards, his continued growth, I think it just helps them continue to improve. And we also have to remember, Cat missed like 50 games last year.
Yeah.
So that's why they ended up in the play-in. I don't think they wouldn't have been a play-in team if Cat was there for the majority of the season. So they're so lethal in what they're able to bring and how they're able to score. Mike Conley, Kyle Anderson. The Mavericks, I know they lost tonight against Sacramento, but they've been playing well. Kyrie and Luka are gelling. Grant Williams was a great pickup. Denver, they've lost 2 in a row. I think when they get Murray back off their hamstring, I think we'll start to see them get back into the fold, get some quality dubs that we're accustomed to seeing from this team. I don't think they're going anywhere. Oklahoma City, man, 4-game win streak. I said it. I said Chet and SGA. Those are the number 2. Those are the 2 scoring options. And you look at what they did last night against Golden State. That's just the formula for success in winning franchises, man. A guard and a big. And they have a dynamic guard. They have one of the best players. They have a top 10 player in the world. And then they have one of the best young players in the world, too, in Chet Holmgren. But his ability to be a 3-level scorer, SGA's ability to be a 3-level scorer, he's improving as a playmaker and a passer. They're going to be dangerous. Jalen Williams as that third guy. I think Giddey's a good player, but he has to improve on some things if he wants to want to be a part of that core. I think Williams, Holmgren, Gilgeous-Alexander, I think that's the core. And then Lou Dort being that role player, 3-and-D guy. And then there's a couple, Kassan Wallace, rookie out of Kentucky, good Kendrick Williams. They got some good role players off the bench, but just the way they're playing, man. Mark Daigneault has done a great job. I think he's going to be in the Coach of the Year discussions as well. So I'm excited to see what he does. This is a great game, Utah versus Phoenix, by the way. You might see triple overtime.
Hey, I'm down for it.
Sacramento, they struggled a little bit, a couple, to start the season, but now they're right back to where they were, five-game win streak. De'Aaron Fox had missed time. That's why they were struggling. Now he's back. Had the 43-point game against Sacramento. I think he had 30 tonight. Just a spoiler, he's in my MVP ladder for the week, just the way he's been playing. Just one of the best players in the league. And he's continuing to improve, work on his game, become a better passer, become a better all-around player. I mean, he's just – it's clicked. Like, I know you remember when Curry had that 54-point game in the Garden in 2013.
2013, yeah.
That's when everything just – that's when the light switched. And then from there, he just took off. I think last year for Fox – just bringing in bringing in Mike Brown, bringing in a collection of new guys. And I think he just realized, listen, man, how do I want my career to be? He could have asked for a trade. He could have dipped, but he stayed loyal to the front office, stayed committed to them, and they stayed committed to him and how they're able to build this team. And they're playing phenomenal. They've completely bought in. They've done this. I mean, again, they've kept their core guys. I think the only person they brought in was McGee.
Yeah. As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, like in terms of like a big, like at least a
Big signing, yeah, because I mean they got the main. I mean they still got the other core guys. I mean besides Sabonis, they got Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray. So I mean they still got pretty much the same team as they had last year.
Exactly. So I mean that's always going to help. Houston, they're playing the Lakers right now. I think they're up 6. Last time I checked. Man, I think for them.
Ooh, that's a big shot by Grayson Allen.
That's a big shot. I just think for Houston, it's just figuring out the hierarchy in terms of the shots. I think Şengün should be the number one option. I've said this for the longest. He should be the number one guy. And then from there, I think it's just figuring out between Jabari Smith and Jalen Green what that looks like in terms of the shot hierarchy. But Udoka's got those guys playing defense. Dylan Brooks has been a really good pickup.
He's been really good for them.
I know whatever happened last year. And I honestly agree with some of the stuff he was saying about how he was kind of made out to be the scapegoat in Memphis. And there was a lot of other things going on, as we see. Because if that was the case, they'd be even without Ja, they'd still be playing better than how they're playing now if it was just only Dylan Brooks' fault, right? So he's on a new team, bringing the same things that he brought at Memphis to Houston, shooting the ball a lot better. Van Vliet, solid veteran championship point guard. I think that's exactly what they needed. He's not the tallest guy, but he's still defensive minded, winning that championship with the Raptors. So they're going to be a tough team to stop on a nightly basis. And that's what I'm saying. This conference, man, I think every game is like a playoff game, bro. You have to be locked in. You have to be locked in because look at the standings right now. I mean, even Utah. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the outcome of this game, but the Clippers are 11th, and we expect the Clippers to turn it around.
That's what I'm saying. Like from 7 to 10 or 7 to 11, like that can go any way.
Yeah, and that's easier said than done. That's easier. Like we could assume that because of the players that they have, but looking at the teams in the conference, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult. So, Lakers, it's just they're inconsistent. They need to win that. They need to win the game. I'll check out the game after this against the Rockets and what's going on there. But they need to win that game somehow, some way, just to continue to stay on a good path. Cam Reddish is playing great basketball right now, getting inserted into that starting lineup. Austin Reeves going to the bench, really understanding his role, team player.
See, that's my thing, man, because Austin Reeves played so well, especially like throughout last season, and especially in the playoffs. And then, of course, getting that max contract extension, which he definitely deserved. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's played bad the whole year, but he's definitely hasn't been like a shining factor that he was last year.
Right. Yeah. No. Listen, it's been a struggle, but I think for him to be willing to come off the bench, I don't know. They were supposed to get. They should have got that rebound, man.
I know. That's what I was looking at. I thought KD was gonna make that 3.
Just he's playing well off the bench, and like I said, he's a team guy. He's a team guy, and I think that's the best part. He's like, listen, if you need me to come off the bench and be productive, I could do that. He's not someone with the ego. Like, he played well, made a lot of money, but unlike this is what I'm saying, like with Poole probably felt like he wanted to be a starter, and I think that's what made things difficult over there in Golden State, and that's why I had to get rid of him. But I just think they gotta. Again, like I said, I feel like they need another piece. I think D'Lo's a good player. He's a good player, but I just think he's not the right piece, man, for them, for that team. Because there's times where he looks great, but he's also not the best defender. And I think that's why Darvin Ham probably was like, listen, if we're gonna have one bad defender in the starting 5, at least let it be D'Lo. You can't have D'Lo and Reeves be on the minus side defensively in your starting lineup in this conference. It's impossible. You can't do it. So I think, I think that's why they ultimately made that move. Ended up being a great move because now you got Reddish, Torian, LeBron, and AD. That 2 to 5 defensively is great. I mean, they could all switch out and do a multitude of things. It's just going to come down to Torian Prince and Cam Reddish being able to knock down outside shots and knock down those threes. I mean, look, like I said, PJ Tucker became a champion just off mastering corner threes, man. He just like, listen, man, like if I can't do anything else, I'm gonna be able to knock down a corner three.
Right. And I feel like that should be like the LeBron formula is, because LeBron is such a terrific high IQ playmaker, so you can allow him to be a playmaker. It's almost like the 2020 team. Your backcourt was KCP and Danny Green. Those are 2 spot up shooters. So you can, right. I mean, you can continue to have that, but then also have like guys like Reeves who can't create off the dribble. But I feel like that could be the formula. It's just surround. I mean, obviously, it's been a formula throughout LeBron's career. It's just surrounding him with a bunch of knockdown shooters.
It's tough. It's tough. Phoenix.
I saw that. Yeah.
Phoenix got it done. Oh, they called the foul?
Oh no. I got my TV on mute, so I don't even know. I can't hear nothing.
Wow, they called the foul. Oh, yeah, he's going to review it. Let's see.
Does Phoenix have a challenge?
That is a foul.
Oh, yeah, it's a foul, yeah.
Wow, this game is crazy. This game is crazy.
Katie's face is like...
the Lakers, they got to figure out some things. They got a new starting lineup now. But, we'll see what happens. Rui's back. I think he's playing really well. They have some depth. They have some solid depth. And when they get Vanderbilt back, that's going to help them. So I think this is just – I don't think they need to make a big trade right now. I just want to see how that roster looks for just a couple
I think they have good pieces on their roster. It's just I guess it may have to take some time.
Yeah, I think it's going to take some time, man. I don't think they need to make a move right now. If things start to spiral out of control, then all right. But I think with the collection of guys that they have, they need to make it work. I think they can make it work. Phoenix, I mean, again, it's just really the KD and Book show. But it's not just from a scoring standpoint because Booker's playmaking is severely underrated.
Yeah, 15 assists on Friday.
15, yeah, that was exactly. 50 exactly. I was about to say that. 15 assists on Friday against the same team, the Jazz. His playmaking, I mean, he's a great playmaker, man. And it's so great. It just sucks that Beal's not there because just imagine the amount of open shots Beal would be getting right now. Just the amount of attention on defense that KD and Book draw. Beal getting wide open shots. It's unfortunate, and back injuries. It's tough. It's tough. There's not something you could really put a timetable on. That's why they had to reevaluate it for the next couple of weeks because it's just a feeling out process, man. Like when you get those back injuries, it gets dicey. You see Ben Simmons going through it right now.
Yeah,
he's younger than
the Beal. Yeah.
So I wish him the best. I wish him the best for real. I mean, he's traveling with the team, so he's getting the treatment and things like that. So it's not like he's away from the team, so that's good. But if he comes back, yeah, they're going to be good. They still got to work on their defense. I mean, I know it might be triple overtime, but they still got to work on their defense.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things defensively.
Yeah, that's what they got to do. I know they can outscore anybody in the world because they have those two guys, but they got to be able to get stops. Because if you're able to get stops, you win this game easily. Pelicans, it's just the same old thing. I mean, it's just a matter of their core guys, their availability.
It's funny. Sorry not to cut you off. Somebody on Twitter said that Zion and BI are the best duo in basketball. I was like, come on, you out your mind, bro.
I mean, that's just
they have potential. They're great players, but come on, man.
They don't play enough to even put them in that category. Like I think the amount of games they've played together has to be like under 50.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like probably less than 50.
And they've been teammates for what? 3 years?
Yeah, pretty much all Zion's career because that was 19 when they had that AD trade.
There you go.
And then of course Zion missed an entire year a few years ago.
Exactly. So There it is right there. So that that was probably a clickbait take.
It probably
Or
was.
that was an engagement tweet. But they have a lot of depth, man.
They
The rookie
do.
Jordan Hawkins,
He's a
UConn,
sniper,
sniper, man. He
man.
continues to develop. It's like they could lose a guy, like let's say like Trey Murphy goes somewhere else and he wants to develop and be, an option on another team. Like they got another guy in Hawkins that could come right in and be a quality player for them. Alvarado is not even back yet. McCollum's not back yet. So they have the depth. It's just the availability. That's what it is with them, and you can't afford to have guys miss games. Zion can't play back to backs. Like I'm just, I was high on them last year, but this year I just got to be objective with it. So I think they're going to be a playing team. I
think within like the next.
No foul.
Oh, they call. Oh, okay.
Over. Wow.
That's crazy. But now, like I think within the next year or two, man, if the Pelicans, it's almost like I said with the Hawks. You know what I'm saying? Like if they stay in the same predicament, I think some things are gonna have to change. Either trade Zion or Bi or whoever it is. Obviously they're a good team when those two are healthy. And then of course you add the combination of the veteran presence of CJ McCollum and the great young presence of a Herb Jones and a Trey Murphy, a Jose Alvarado, and the rest of the guys. But if they're not able to prevail in the West, because you look at it. They've had Zion since 2019. OKC's gotten better than them. Sacramento's gotten better than them. So a lot of these young teams that you're seeing, Minnesota now, who's the number one team in the Western Conference. So a lot of these young teams who have been in the same conversation as the Pelicans have been since they got Zion, they've gotten better than them.
Right. Yeah. And that's because they've been playing together.
That's true, yeah.
That's what it is. And man, it's just unfortunate. But I agree. I do think this time next year, I don't think we see the same. They don't have the same core guys. I think Bi might get up out of there. I see them moving Ingram before Zion.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they do that because they do have some wing. They do have someone like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, guys that could, potentially develop and be solid wings for them. So Golden State, we kind of already talked about them already at the top of the show. Clippers, same thing. Jazz, well-oiled machine. I like the way they play. They're going to be tough to beat. They play 5 out. But
they're really fun to watch.
They play a motion 5 out. It's not a stand around and do everything type of 5 out. I think they're missing. They're missing one guy, man. They're one player away.
Do you trust Lauri Markkanen to be your true franchise player, though?
I think he's a 2.
Okay.
I think he's a 2. Now, listen, if Keontae George could continue to develop, excuse me, and become a quality guy for them, a dynamic guard, then they may not. Maybe that's the piece because they're Clarkson. We haven't really talked about this that much, but Clarkson's development from the Lakers to the Cavs to the Jazz. It's kind of like one of the, unsung stories in the NBA. He was a 6th man of the year. Now he's a bona fide starter, bucket getter, could do everything on the court, make contested shots, dunk on you. If you sleep on him, he still got the bungees to catch your body. He's a great player.
But it's crazy because I think he's had this in him like all along because I know people may not remember because the Lakers were so bad back then, but he had his moments where he was like the leading scorer for the team. Yeah. So he's had his in him. I think it's just all about opportunity for him.
And again, this is the benefit. He played with LeBron. So what did he have to do? Play off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So now, as he already has that tool in his toolbox, all he had to do was learn how to develop and improve on his on-ball ability, and now that makes you a dynamic player.
Yeah, especially now, with the brand new Jazz team, D. Mitch is gone now, so he's able to step in at that wing position. So it's a good situation for him.
Great situation. I just think in this conference, if they were in the East, they'd probably be like 6.
Yeah.
They'd probably be top 6. But since they're in the West, they need that. They need one more piece. And they put up 137. I know it's double over, but they can. Marketing is really good.
Yeah.
Clarkson's really good. Collins,
I like John Collins. Yeah,
I like Collins. Maybe Kessler can if he can develop an offensive game, maybe Kessler could be that guy. But they're first off, they're a tough team. It's going to be if they could get in the playoffs, and it's going to be difficult, man. I mean, they're already 12th, and they lost tonight, so they're 4-9. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. But yeah, they need one more. They need one more. They need like an all-star. They need another all-star in there. Either that, or they just continue to do what they're doing, and hopefully those other guys get better.
Yeah, that's my thing because I think Keontae George is special. Like I don't know if he emerges like an all-star. I think he has it in him, but
he's already a starter as a rookie. Like that says a lot.
Exactly. I mean, especially like 1 month into the season, like that's incredible. So I think that he may have the potential to be able to become that all-star caliber point guard. I mean, who knows? But he definitely does have the potential.
Without question. That's
tough.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a tough call. It's a tough call, but yeah, this is if they can find that extra guy or one of those other guys develop, I think that'd be great. I don't think they should make it. I don't think they should make a trade. I think they should just continue. I know they had a lot of high expectations last year. They caught teams by surprise. They're a really good team, and I like the way they play. I love their system. They could go traditional with Kessler, or they could go 5 out with Markkanen at the 5, or John Collins at the 5. But they need like I said, they need that superstar type guy.
But see, that's the thing though. Is like, what superstar can you possibly see going there without being traded? Because Utah's a very small market, so it's like they're not going to attract like any free agents, especially like all-star caliber players.
Yeah, I agree.
So the only other option is either to trade or just to keep drafting.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to do the latter. I think they just got to keep drafting, bro. I mean, like you said, you're not going to get a all-star, bona fide all-star to go to Utah. That's just what it is. I mean, and again, like I said with Chicago, look at how their team was built. Karl Malone, Stockton, drafted. Gobert, Mitchell, drafted. Like, that's just what they have to do. So, if George, Kessler, one of those two guys become solidified, they'll be good to go for sure. All right. Before we get into our MVP ladder, wanted to pull up this graphic. This graphic is tough. This is tough right here.
Oh, snap.
This is a who will MNC choose. One gotta go. So this is one gotta go. You got Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Halliburton, and De'Aaron Fox. I think it's kind of obvious, but it's tough though.
I'm gonna go Halliburton, man, and it's tough because he's improved tremendously as an all-around player, not even just as a playmaker, but as a scorer as well. You know, his creation off the dribble, his ability to to get into the teeth of the defense. He's been really, really good. But these other guys, I mean, they're all number one options on their respective teams. But we talk about Ant-Man. He's got superstar written all over him. SGA, he's been tremendous pretty much since he's gotten into the league. And we talk about De'Aaron Fox and where he has his team at right now. So I mean, it's tough because I like Halliburton. I think like I've been on record saying that even when he was in Sacramento, I was like, he needs to be the franchise point guard. Like I feel like that's what he really needed because obviously it wasn't going to happen because they have De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento. So once he got traded to Indiana, I was like, okay, this is finally his opportunity, and he's been able to show that. So he's been continuing to improve tremendously over the past few years, but I just don't have him ahead of the other three just yet. I mean, he could possibly pass these guys, who knows? But right now, I got these other guys: Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and De'Aaron Fox ahead of him.
Yeah, I think it's a tough but easy choice.
Right.
Because those are the Edwards, SGA, and Fox. They're just playing at a completely different level. I just think the athleticism, just Shea. I mean, he's an elite. He's just an elite basket. I mean, he's already a top 10 player, so obviously he's not going to get knocked. And you could argue Fox is a top 10 player too.
Yeah.
And Edwards is right up is right there in terms of getting into that top 10 spot as well. So it's very close, but I think Halliburton definitely have to go for sure. All right. And last but not least, we got a MVP ladder for week 4. I'll start. At number 5, I got Nikola Jokic. They took a couple losses.
Oh, number 5, okay.
Yeah. They took a couple losses this week. They had a big win against the Clippers, though. He's still playing at a high level. I think he had 26. I mean, he had like 28, 16, and 18, and they lost. So he's still in my top 5 for me. Number 4, I got Kevin Durant. Just what he's been able to do in this stretch of games, averaging 30. The shooting splits are insane, unguardable. This is the healthiest he's ever been since Golden State. This is the best he's looked since Golden State. He's incredible. What he's been able to do, will this team playing as many minutes needed to get the dub for the Phoenix Suns. Whether it's Booker's out, Beal's out, they still have a way, and they still find a way to win because they have number 35. Number 3, I got SGA. OKC about to go on a 5-game win streak. I believe they're already on a 5-game win streak. They beat Portland. They blasted the Trailblazers. 40 points last night against the Dubs. Another really good game tonight against the Trailblazers. I got him there. Number 2, got De'Aaron Fox. Ever since he's came back from the injury, he's been playing at a high level. Had the 43-point game against the Spurs, and then a really good game tonight as well against Dallas. And number 1, I got Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum at 1. After that loss against the Timberwolves, they've been on a 6-game win streak. He's averaging, pretty much what he was already averaging last year. It was a close game against the Grizzlies. No Marcus Smart either in that game for Memphis, but went down to the wire. They were able to get that done. I got Jason Tatum number 1. They got the best record in the association, so got to give him the MVP nod on top of everything he's already doing.
Solid list overall. I didn't actually prepare mine, but there's a few guys that come off the top of my head. I'm just gonna name some names, not necessarily in order. I love what Ant-Man is doing in Minnesota. They're the first seed in the Western Conference for a reason. We've been saying it countless amount of times that he should be the number 1 option, and I think that he is definitely showing that. He's averaging around 26 a game, shooting the ball well, but also people don't realize how good he is defensively. I think that he's really elevated as a defender, which is part of the reason why Minnesota is really, really good. So I think Ant-Man's in that conversation. Definitely got to go with Jason Tatum. What he's been able to do in Boston. I think this year may be his best chance of winning. I know that last year he had a really good chance, but I know that the three-headed monsters of Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis, they've been, in the MVP race for the past few years. But who knows? I mean, he may emerge as like one of the next candidates to possibly win it. So, he's been playing spectacular, which is part of the reason why Boston is one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Another guy that I have, Luka Doncic of Dallas. Dallas has been really, really impressive throughout this first month of the season, and I think Luka has definitely been their biggest X factor. What I'm saying? Like, just with scoring and his passing and everything, really making the game easier for others. So I love what he's been able to do. Of course, you got to have the best player in basketball, which is Nikola Jokic, and what he's been able to do in Denver, having to kind of elevate his game, especially with the loss of Jamal Murray, which is crucial to the team. I mean, of course, he will be back within a few weeks, but what he's been able to just do, the numbers that he's putting up is just flat out impressive. And then after that, I gotta go with, it's tough, man, because there's a lot of other names, but you can't deny what De'Aaron Fox is doing in Sacramento. He's been playing exceptional basketball. Sacramento continues to just emerge as one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and he's the sole reason behind it.
Yeah, it's close, man. It's close. This is probably the most competitive MVP ladder that we're probably going to get. In this era, man, it's going to be so many guys that might not win MVP. Just looking at the course of their careers, just because of the talent pool in the league right now.
Right, and that's the thing too, man. Because it's like, I'll be real, like when Luka first came into the league, and I saw how impressive he was in his rookie year, I was like, this guy can get at least 2 or 3 MVPs. But he's in what, year 6 now?
Yep.
Still has no MVPs. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't knock what Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis have done, throughout these past 2 years. But man, like, the league just shows that the league is just continuing to get more and more competitive, especially as a talent standpoint.
Yeah, I think he'll get one eventually, but I think I think it'll be tough for us to see guys win multiple,
right?
Because just these teams are so good, and if they do win multiple, I don't think it'll be consecutively. I don't think it'll be like 2 in a row, 3 in a row.
That's true, yeah.
Jokic and Giannis were the last 2 people to do it, but I don't think we have that for a while because the talent pool right now is insane.
On top of that, I think everybody's waiting on another wing to possibly get it because the last one was James Harden back in 2018. So I think a lot of people are waiting on that as well. So, I mean, this is the ultimate green light for a guy like Tatum and other guys to possibly win it. Who knows?
I agree. All right, man. That wraps up the show for today. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Michael will be back next week. Feel better, my guy.
Yes, sir. Get your rest for sure.
You can find his podcast, All Things Kentucky Cats Chat Pod. That's on Facebook on Wednesdays at 8:30. At Cat Chat Pod on all social media platforms. You can find me on X/Twitter, cjames9_. Instagram, cj.james9. CJ versus the World, my gaming page, MNC Hoops. And the hard count will be back this week coming up on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, sir. Follow MNC Hoops everywhere at MNC Hoops. Subscribe. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. Make sure to give us 5-star reviews if you think we are deserving of that. For the love of the game, follow I Love a TGB Ball. More episodes coming soon. Follow me at Nick on JTR and just check out pretty much everything I got going on.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for tuning in. Catch you guys on the next one.
Yes, sir. This is